Gurgle, someone swallowed hard. That distinct sound of swallowing echoed loudly, magnified infinitely in the death, silent air. Li Mingyao's eyes blazed with hunger. She stared fixedly at the golden, brown, crispy wolf leg roasting over the fire. Saliva dripped uncontrollably from the corners of her mouth. Meat, roasted meat. As if possessed, her legs moved of their own accord. She wanted to lunge forward and swallow the whole wolf leg, bones and all. Stop right there. Chun-Shi grabbed Li Mingyao's arm in an iron grip, her strength nearly crushing the bones beneath. Chun-Shi's whole body trembled uncontrollably. Her face, usually marked by casual nonchalance, was now deathly pale, drained of all color. Her gaze was fixed on the gleaming steel machete resting beside Lin Mo. Beyond that, in the corner of the camp, lay mountainous piles of skinned, meat-stripped wolf skeletons. Vivid memories of the gory bloodstains she had seen outside the farm the night before flashed through Chun-Shi's mind. The elite wolf pack had been butchered without mercy. 200-pound gray wolves had been dragged away like dead dogs. The terrifying, unknown monster that had haunted Chun-Shi's nightmares was no mutated beast. It was this man sitting calmly drinking water right in front of her. Alone, armed with nothing but a blade, he had wiped out an elite wolf pack strong enough to overrun the entire farm out in the dark wilderness. The overwhelming, crushing power made Chun-Shi's legs buckle, on the verge of collapsing to the ground. Not everyone present shared Chun-Shi's sharp perception and clear-headed thinking. Su Qingya stood at the front of the group. After the initial shock and moment of stunned disbelief, burning jealousy and resentment coiled inside her like venomous snakes. Why? Why did they suffer back at the farm? People had died. They starved and froze, forced to eat raw meat to survive. Meanwhile, Lin Mo, that nobody, got to live in such comfort out here. Overwhelming imbalance had warped her sanity. She never stopped to wonder how Lin Mo had obtained these supplies, nor how he had slain so many wolves. Herself, serving logic took complete hold of her mind. Lin Mo. Su Qingya burst through the thick underbrush, storming forward like a woman out of her mind. Her shrill voice shattered the camp's quiet. She pointed furiously at Lin Mo, who leaned against a wolf skin bed. Anger and jealousy twisted her features. You selfish, contemptible man. How dare you sit here enjoying roasted meat? Her sudden outburst stunned Lu Yunyan and the other girls behind her. Lin Mo narrowed his eyes. He set down his water bottle and turned to stare coldly at Su Qingya, who ranted like a rabid dog. He said nothing, yet a chilling glint flickered deep within his eyes. Su Qingya failed to notice the danger closing in. Taking his silence as admission of guilt, she grew even more arrogant. Do you have any idea what happened last night? Wolves attacked the farm. Wang Ming was torn apart alive. Zhang Yao nearly had her leg bitten off and lies bleeding, fighting for her life. Su Qingya grew more agitated by the second. She forced a few fake tears, casting herself as the aggrieved party standing on moral high ground. And all of this is your fault. If the smell of your roasting meat hadn't drifted through the woods, the wolves would never have come. They couldn't get into your fortified camp, so they went for us at the farm. You killed Wang Ming. You brought disaster down on all of us. You're a murderer. Her absurd, perverse reasoning defied all common sense. Even the girls hiding in the bushes were dumbfounded. They had driven Lin Mo away themselves. The wolves had merely hunted naturally. Yet according to Su Qingya, every misfortune fell on Lin Mo's shoulders. Just because he cooked meat, wolves attacked the farm. Su Qingya, shut up. Xia Yuqing stormed out from the back of the group, shaking with rage. She pointed at Su Qingya and shouted, Have you no shame? You're the one who insisted on chasing Lin Mo away. Now disaster strikes, and you try to shift all the blame onto him. Stay out of this. This is none of your business. Su Qingya whirled around, glaring viciously at Xia Yuqing, then turned back toward Lin Mo and spoke in a commanding tone. Lin Mo, since you drew the wolves here, you are responsible for us. Right now, I order you to bring your medical supplies and your roasted meat back to the farm with us. Save Zhang Yao. Hand over all these wolf pelts so everyone can keep warm. If you obey, as the leader of our group, I might graciously overlook your mistake and let you rejoin us. Su Qingya held her chin high, behaving as though granting a royal favor. Her eyes brimmed with overbearing self-importance. In her mind, Lin Mo must have been lonely and frightened out in the wilderness all by himself. She was doing him a kindness, offering him a chance to return to the group and serve them. He ought to be grateful. What answered her was a soft chuckle. Lin Mo slowly rose from the wolf skin bed. Ignoring Su Qingya, he drew his heavy machete from its sheath. Zing! Metal scraped against metal, ringing sharp and clear. As his hand closed around the hilt, a murderous aura swept across the camp like a frigid tide. What are you doing? Su Qingya froze. She felt as though a primordial beast had locked its gaze upon her. An invisible hand closed around her throat, making it hard to breathe. Lin Mo gripped the machete and strode to the edge of his windbreak. He looked down at Su Qingya, whose legs trembled beneath her. No anger showed on his face, only cold indifference, as if he were observing something already dead. I truly underestimated how low you people can sink. A cold smile tugged at Lin Mo's lips. His voice was quiet, yet struck like a slap across her face. You pin the label of murderer on me. Demand I hand over my supplies and become your servant. Su Qingya's face burned bright red with humiliation. How dare you insult me? Spoiled since childhood, showered with admiration from countless men, she had never endured such scorn. She pointed at Lin Mo, ready to shout more accusations. Poor loser, do you think you can? Smack. Su Qingya never finished her sentence. A hand swung hard across her cheek. The force spun her halfway around, and she crashed heavily onto the muddy ground. Ah! A shrill scream tore from her throat. One side of her face swelled instantly, and blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. She stared upward in disbelief, only to realize Lin Mo had not struck her. It was Chun Shi, standing right behind her. Chun Shi's eyes blazed. Her chest heaved, and her right hand still trembled from the blow. She stared down at Su Qingya, a mix of fear and unbridled fury in her eyes. Chun Shi, have you lost your mind? How dare you hit me? Su Qingya snapped. She could not fathom being struck by one of her own companions. I hit you because you're an idiot, hell, bent on getting us all killed. Chun Shi snarled like a cornered beast. If you want to die, don't drag the rest of us down with you. Chun Shi alone had seen the piles of wolf remains and understood the full scope of Lin Mo's terrifying strength. She knew perfectly well the killing intent radiating off him was no act. Last night, this single man had slaughtered an entire elite wolf pack. In this lawless wilderness, killing a human would cost him no more effort than killing a wolf. If Su Qingya kept provoking him, all 8 of them would end up dead on the spot. To save their lives, Chun Shi had acted without hesitation, cutting Su Qingya's rant short. Use your eyes. Look at that blade in his hand. Look at those wolf bones piled over there. Chun Shi shouted, gesturing toward the corner of the camp. Your father's status as a chairman means nothing out here. If you insult Lin Mo one more time, I will deal with you myself. Her words crashed over Su Qingya like ice, cold water, jolting the other girls out of their daze. Li Mingyao followed Chun Shi's pointing finger. When she saw the massive, clean, picked mounds of wolf bones, her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the dirt. Wolves, all of those are wolf bones. Her teeth chattered uncontrollably. Fear overwhelmed her. Su Qingya pressed her swollen cheek and stared at the blood-stained machete in Lin Mo's grasp. At last she understood exactly what kind of person she had provoked. Terror paralyzed her. She shook violently, unable to utter another word. A deathly hush fell over the clearing. Only ragged, frightened gasps from the girls broke the silence. Amid this suffocating standoff, Lu Yunyan, who had watched everything from the background, took a deep breath and stepped forward, her steps stiff. Lin Mo, let us all calm down. There is no need for such hostility. Lu Yunyan walked carefully around Su Qingya's crumpled form and stopped 3 meters outside Lin Mo's windbreak. She tried to sound gentle and poised, just as she had in the university lecture hall. Yet her tightly clenched, white hands and faintly trembling voice betrayed her inner terror. Lin Mo watched her perform this act of composure without speaking. He tapped a finger against the back of his machete. Zing! The sharp metallic hum rang out. Lu Yunyan flinched, the words on her tongue catching in her throat. Lin Mo, she swallowed hard, forcing a gentle smile, and resorted to her usual persuasive tactics. Qingya acted recklessly and spoke without thinking. I apologize for her. But please understand, last night's wolf attack cost Wang Ming her life. Everyone is traumatized and grief-stricken. It is understandable that emotions run high. Lu Yunyan tried to excuse Su Qingya's outrageous behavior by invoking their shared suffering, hoping to bridge the gap between them. Seeing Lin Mo remain impassive, her heart sank, yet she pressed onward. I know there was conflict yesterday, and you were wronged. But the world out here is brutal and dangerous. Death lurks around every corner. You are capable and strong. Look at this camp you built. Look at all the wolves you have slain. Everyone has seen what you can do. She drew a deep breath, her tone turning earnest, as if delivering a lecture. Great power brings great responsibility. We are classmates, a group. Right now these girls face mortal danger. Can you truly stand by and watch your former classmates and teacher perish in the wilds, devoured by beasts? If you come back to the farm with your supplies, or let us take shelter within your camp, I give you my word nothing like yesterday will ever happen again. You will hold a high standing among us, second only to myself. You will receive priority shares of food. You will not be forced to do menial labor. You can protect us and become the hero we all need. Would that not be worthwhile? Lu Yunyan's speech was smooth and persuasive. First, she laid moral pressure on him, invoking manhood, collective survival, and responsibility. Then she dangled promises of status and respect, hoping to appeal to his vanity. In her view, a young male college student would easily fall for such appeals. A little praise, the title of hero, and he would hand over his supplies and resume, acting as their unpaid guard and laborer. Behind her, Li Mingyao and the other girls' eyes lit up with renewed hope. Surely their teacher would sway him with reason. However, ha. After a brief pause, Lin Imo bowed his head and let out a low chuckle. His laughter grew louder until it rang with open mockery and disdain across the wilderness. The sound struck Lu Yunyan's hypocritical facade like open-handed slaps. What? What are you laughing at? Her polite smile froze completely. Hot shame welled up inside her. I laugh at how foolish you are, and at your unbelievably thick mask of hypocrisy. Lin Mo's laughter died away. His gaze turned ice cold. Lu Yunyan, do you truly believe you are the only intelligent person alive, and everyone else is naive enough to be manipulated by you? When Su Qingyao led the drive to cast me out yesterday, where were you, our respected teacher? You stood by and watched. You even suggested the compromise that I sleep in the doghouse and serve as your unpaid guard. Where was your talk of collective survival then? Where was your speech about a man's duty? Lin Mo's words struck home, tearing straight through her pretense. Now wolves have come, people are dead, and you are starving. You see my fortified camp, my food and water, and suddenly you lecture me about responsibility and being a hero. Promising me better treatment, promising me larger rations? Lin Imo sneered, undisguised contempt in his eyes. What exactly are you going to reward me with? My own supplies? Your attempt to take everything for nothing is utterly disgusting. Exposed in front of everyone, Lu Yunyan's face flushed bright red. Burning shame choked her, yet Lin Mo's overwhelming aura left her incapable of offering any rebuttal. Lin Imo, how dare you speak to your teacher in such a manner, she quavered, clinging to her authority for one last desperate attempt. Bang! Tired of listening to her, Lin Imo drove his machete hard into the mud just outside the windbreak. Most of the blades sank into the earth, and the handle vibrated with a low thrumming hum. The raw display of strength sent Lu Yunyan and the other girls stumbling backward, faces filled with terror. Drop your sanctimonious moral grandstanding. This is the wilderness, not your university classroom. Lin Imo folded his arms across his chest and looked down at the terrified girls before him. His voice was grim and unyielding, shattering their last shreds of wishful thinking. I am no saint, and I will not be your obedient tool to be summoned at will. There are no laws or social norms out here. If you want to survive, you must abide by one basic rule: fair exchange. You want my protection? My food and water? Do you want to stay alive? Lin Mo's gaze swept over Lu Yunyan and the other young women. That can be done, but nothing in this world is free. If you wish to gain something from me, you must pay a price. You can work for me, handling all the difficult and unpleasant chores. That is the price for shelter and sustenance. I will not pretend to be noble. My terms are clear. If anyone tries to take advantage of me or manipulate me with empty morality, Lin Imo wrenched the machete free from the mud. The blade stopped inches from Lu Yunyan's nose, sharp and deadly. This blade will have no qualms about ending your life. Silence. Complete, utter silence. Lin Mo's blunt, unvarnished explanation of the wilderness's cruel reality shattered every last illusion the girls had held. Fair exchange. Work in return for survival. These chilling 8 words left all the girls staring at one another, overcome by unprecedented despair and terror. In civilized society, they could rely on their good looks to take for granted the admiration and efforts of men, and even sit in moral high ground to pass harsh judgment. Yet here, their prized beauty and so-called female privileges meant absolutely nothing in the face of brute force and scarce survival resources. Lu Yunyan was so stung by his retort that her face burned red, and she trembled all over. She opened her mouth, only to realize she had no grounds whatsoever to argue back against Lin Imo. Su Qingyao held her swollen cheek and hid behind Li Mingyao, too afraid to even glance at Lin Imo. Amid this suffocating atmosphere of hopelessness, a small figure suddenly pushed through the crowd and stepped firmly to the front of the group. Xia Yuqing's eyes were red, biting hard into her pale lips. She pushed past the shaking girls and stood resolutely at the forefront. Xia Yuqing, what are you doing? Come back right now. Lu Yinyan's expression shifted. She instinctively reached out to pull her back, but Xia Yuqing brushed her hand off violently. Don't touch me. Xia Yuqing spun around. Her once clear eyes now blazed with unbridled rage and contempt. She stared fixedly at Lu Yinyan and Su Qingyao hiding behind her. Emotions she had long suppressed erupted like an active volcano. How much longer are you going to keep up this act? Xia Yuqing's voice shook with fury. Yesterday during the day, it was you two who drove Lin Mo out of the farm because of your ridiculous delusions. When the wolf pack came last night, you cowered inside cabinets and under tables, watching Wang Ming get mauled and Zhang Yao have her thigh torn open. Now we are on the brink of starvation. Zhang Yao lies unconscious from a high fever brought on by an infected wound and could die at any moment. How dare you all come here and try to morally pressure Lin Mo into working and protecting you for free? Your shameless hypocrisy disgusts me to my core. Xia Yuqing's rebuke echoed across the open ground of the camp, every word sharp and piercing. Several girls who had harbored resentment toward Lin Mo hung their heads in shame upon hearing her words. Lu Yinyan and Su Qingyao turned pale then flushed, yet under Lin Mo's icy gaze, they could not utter a single word of rebuttal. After speaking, Xia Yuqing took a deep breath and turned back toward Lin Mo inside the windbreak wall. Her eyes fell on the Red Cross-marked medical kit beside him. Images flashed through her mind. Zhang Yao lying in pools of blood, burning with fever, writhing in agony. Medicine was all it would take to save Zhang Yao's life. Without further hesitation, Xia Yuqing bent her knees. Thud! Before the shocked eyes of every girl, Xia Yuqing, the studious, upright class monitor, dropped onto the cold, muddy ground. She bowed deeply, pressing her forehead against the dirt. Her voice cracked with tears and pleading. Lin Mo, I know we have no right to demand anything from you. We were wrong to chase you away yesterday, but I beg you. Zhang Yao is dying. Her wound is severely infected, and she has slipped into a fever-induced coma. If you would only give me some anti-inflammatory pills and antibiotics to save her. I, Xia Yuqing, swear that from now on I will place myself entirely at your disposal. I will work tirelessly for you and obey every order you give me. To save her best friend's life, Xia Yuqing had cast aside all her pride, offering her loyalty in exchange for help from Lin Mo. The scene stunned everyone present. Chen Shi and Lu Jia's eyes welled up, and they looked away, unable to bear watching. Shortly after her initial shock, twisted jealousy took hold of Su Qingyao once more. Seeing Xia Yuqing humbled on the ground, she found an outlet for her frustration and began screaming sharply. Xia Yuqing, have you no self-respect at all? Su Qingyao pointed straight at her. We are classmates, and yet you grovel to him just for a few pills? You have brought shame on all of us girls. Having berated Xia Yuqing, she wheeled on Lin Mo, her eyes full of venom. Lin Mo, you creep. I knew you had bad intentions. You are hoarding medicine on purpose just to force Xia Yuqing into submission. You are simply acting out your selfish desires. Su Qingyao's warped logic remained unchanged, as if Lin Mo was some irredeemable villain for refusing to hand over his supplies for nothing. Lin Mo barely even blinked at her ranting. He shot her a cold glance, a mocking smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Fine. Suppose I do want her loyalty, so what? Lin Mo replied openly, completely unapologetic, his tone heavy and unyielding. In this end-of-the-world wasteland where wild beasts can tear you apart at any second, the supplies in my hands equal life itself. I trade my resources for loyalty, and people trade their service for a chance to survive. That is fair exchange. What? Do you think it is noble to expect everything from me for absolutely nothing? You. Su Qingyao was left speechless. Her chest heaved, yet she could not form a retort. Lin Mo lost interest in engaging her. He looked down at Xia Yuqing kneeling in the muck. Though covered in mud and blood, her beautiful face held the unyielding resolve of someone ready to sacrifice everything for a friend. Memories of their days at the farm drifted through Lin Mo's mind. Back then, nearly all 30-odd female classmates enjoyed the fruits of his labor while gossiping and sneering behind his back. Only Xia Yuqing, Zhang Yao, and 2 other girls had shown basic decency. They would bring him water while he performed hard labor. And during Su Qingyao's outburst the day before, Xia Yuqing had risked being ostracized to speak a few fair words on his behalf. Lin Mo was no saint, nor was he a heartless killer. He would return malice 100-fold, but he also would not withhold repayment for past kindness. Considering the decency you showed me before, and the fair words you spoke for me. Lin Mo rummaged inside the medical kit and pulled out a box of anti-inflammatory medication and a box of broad-spectrum antibiotics. He weighed them briefly in his hand. Then he flicked his wrist. Plop! The 2 boxes landed precisely on the ground in front of Xia Yuqing. You may have these 2 boxes of medicine, free of charge. Lin Mo's voice stayed frigid, yet to Xia Yuqing's ears it sounded like music from heaven. Shock washed over her. She lifted her head, staring at the medicine on the ground as tears streamed freely down her face. But mark my words. Just as Xia Yuqing was about to thank him, Lin Mo's eyes turned sharp. A heavy, oppressive aura descended over everyone. This is the last time I give anything to you for free. Consider it repayment for you speaking up for me before. From this moment on, we are even. Lin Mo looked down at Xia Yuqing, then at Lu Yinyin and the others behind her, and declared grimly, my camp does not keep useless people who only know how to beg for handouts. If you cannot survive out at the farm and seek shelter here in the future, you will abide strictly by my rules. No more favors. No free handouts. If you wish to stay alive, you must pay the price through work and service. Now take your medicine and get these people out of my sight. Lin Mo ordered them to leave without ceremony. Xia Yuqing clutched the life-saving medicine tightly to her chest, as if it were the most precious treasure on earth. She bowed deeply toward Lin Mo and kowtowed. Her voice shook with gratitude. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lin Mo. I shall never forget what you have done for me. She scrambled to her feet without brushing mud off her clothes and sprinted toward the farm. Every second counted. Zhang Yao was locked in a fight against death. Yuqing, wait for us. Chen Shi and Lu Jia hurried after her. They felt deep awe for Lin Mo and wanted nothing more than to get away from his menacing presence. Meanwhile, Su Qingya stared greedily at the medicine in Xia Yuqing's arms, then at the abundant supplies stacked behind the windbreak. Roast meat sizzling over fire, clear drinking water, and wolf pelts. Greed and resentment welled up inside her. That was all. They had traveled all this way. Only Xia Yuqing had gotten medicine by begging, while the rest of them had not even gotten a sip of water. Were they supposed to trudge back to starvation and cold? Gritting her teeth, as the group prepared to depart, Su Qingya muttered under her breath. Little did she know that these quiet words would ignite Lin Mo's fury. What is there for him to be proud of? He only got lucky finding supplies. Does he truly think he is some warlord? Su Qingya's gaze lingered on the anti-inflammatory drugs. Her eyes greedily swept over the wolf pelts, sizzling roast meat and clean drinking water inside the camp. Jealously poisoned her thoughts. She kept her voice low, yet loud enough for the girls beside her to hear clearly. We are all classmates. He cannot possibly use all those resources alone. 2 boxes of medicine is nothing, barely better than throwing scraps to beggars. Bitterness dripped from her tone as vicious thoughts took shape. When night falls, all 30-odd of us can sneak over and carry all his supplies back to the farm. There is safety in numbers. Surely he would not kill all of us. In her twisted reasoning, Lin Mo's possessions belonged to the group. Stealing them felt completely justified, for the good of everyone. Li Mingyao's eyes lit up at once and nodded eagerly. You are absolutely right. He cannot possibly guard all of this alone. Tonight we sneak in and take the roast meat and wolf pelts. Let us see how arrogant he will be tomorrow. Several other girls, driven half-mad by hunger, also began to look covetous. They had no idea that their so-called secret plotting was perfectly audible to Lin Mo, whose physical abilities had been tripled, as if they were shouting through loudspeakers. Inside the windbreak wall, Lin Mo's expression darkened. Deadly rage flickered in his eyes. He had shown mercy and let them leave because Xia Yuqing had begged for her friend. Yet instead of feeling grateful, they openly plotted to raid his camp right in front of him. Did they truly believe his broadsword was merely for show? Seeking death, Lin Mo wasted no words. His leg muscles tensed, unleashing explosive power into the soil beneath his feet. Boom. Hard mud caved in under his weight, dirt spraying outward. Lin Mo surged forward like an enraged beast. He bounded effortlessly over the 3-meter-high windbreak wall and charged straight towards Su Qingya at the front of the group. He was far too fast. All the girls saw was a dark blur. 1 second Su Qingya was gloating. The next, the stench of blood filled her nostrils. Her eyes widened in terror as Lin Mo's cold face loomed close. A fist swung toward her. Ah! Su Qingya screamed in terror and tried to dodge. But her meager reaction speed was nothing compared to Lin Mo. The muscles of his right arm bulged, veins popping. He twisted his hips and poured his full strength into one punch. Boom. The fist whistled past Su Qingya's cheek. The force of the wind stung her skin, as though it would tear her flesh apart. Death had drawn near. Then came a deafening crack, a thunderous crash. Lin Mo's blow slammed squarely into the thick, dry tree trunk directly behind Su Qingya. Bark shattered instantly, wood splintering under the impact. The trunk, as thick as a bowl, snapped clean in two. The upper section crashed down into the bushes, sending clouds of dust billowing upward. A deathly silence fell across the area outside the camp. Lu Yinyin, Chun Shi, Xia Yuqing. Everyone froze as though struck by lightning, eyes bulging in disbelief. He had broken a bowl-thick tree trunk with one punch. No human should possess such strength. If that blow had landed on Su Qingya's skull, it would have crushed her instantly. A damp, foul smell broke the silence. Su Qingya collapsed onto the ground like a limp sack. Her eyes rolled backward, her lips turned blue, and her whole body shook violently. Fear had completely overwhelmed her. Lin Mo stepped forward, grabbed Su Qingya by the collar, and lifted her off the muddy ground as easily as picking up a chick. What are you going to do? Su Qingya whimpered, barely able to speak from fright. Smack! A heavy, resounding slap landed hard across Su Qingya's pretty face. The force sent stars bursting across her vision. One side of her face swelled bright purple instantly, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. You wish to steal my supplies? Go ahead and try. Lin Mo tossed her back onto the ground like trash. He stared down at her without the slightest hint of pity. I will spare you this once. Out of our past connection as classmates, consider it a warning. But I swear to you, if you dare lay hands on my belongings or act foolishly, you will end up just like that tree. Lin Mo's voice was quiet, yet it sent shivers deep into every soul. Now get out of here. That single word sounded like a death sentence. Run. Hurry. Lu Yinyin scrambled to her feet, leaving her glasses lying on the ground. She sprinted madly back toward the farm. Any sense of authority she once held vanished completely before raw power. Yiya, get up. Li Mingyao's legs shook, yet self-preservation drove her to drag the beaten Su Qingya to her feet. They stumbled away from the camp. Chun Shi and Lu Jiao, faces drained of color, hurried after them. Only Xia Yuqing remained. After the overwhelming shock, she held the medicine tight against her chest. She looked long and hard at Lin Mo, filled with deep reverence. She quickly gathered several wild fruits fallen in the bushes, their only source of food. Thank you, Lin Mo. Xia Yuqing thanked him once more, then ran for all she was worth toward the farm. Every moment mattered. Zhang Yao still fought for her life. Lin Mo watched their fleeing backs and let out a cold snort, turning to head back inside his sturdy, warm shelter. They had been thoroughly terrified. Not daring to test his strength, they would never dare attack his camp again without knowing what they were up against. Meanwhile, Xia Yuqing burst into the rundown drafty main hall of the farm. Yao Yao, wake up. I have medicine. She rushed straight over to Zhang Yao's side. Zhang Yao's condition was critical. Severe high fever made her convulse violently. Her lips had turned a frightening dark purple, her breath shallow and faint. Her leg wound reeked of rot, and the tissue had already begun to necrotize. Water! Quick, give me water! Xia Yuqing shouted urgently. She snatched a cracked plastic bottle, holding half a bottle of murky well water from Lu Jia. She tore open the packaging of the anti-inflammatory pills and broad-spectrum antibiotics, pouring out several white tablets. These system-produced basic medical supplies worked exceptionally well against bacterial infection. She pried Zhang Yao's jaw open, slipped the pills inside, and carefully gave her water to swallow them down. Once she had finished, Xia Yuqing sank exhaustedly onto the floor. She gripped Zhang Yao's burning hand tightly, praying desperately. In the corners of the hall, the other girls huddled together, staring with complicated expressions at the medicine boxes in Xia Yuqing's hands. Minute after minute ticked by. About half an hour passed. A miracle happened. Zhang Yao, whose whole body had been convulsing from the high fever, gradually grew calm. Her burning hot body temperature dropped visibly. Her faint, rapid breathing steadied. The fever's broken. It's really broken. Lu Jia touched Zhang Yao's forehead and shed tears of excitement. Yuqing, the medicine Lin Mo gave actually works. Zhang Yao is going to be all right. Xia Yuqing wept for joy. She held Zhang Yao tightly, and long-suppressed fear and distress spilled over in tears. Just as they were drowning in relief, a harsh, venomous, greedy voice suddenly rang out across the hall. Xia Yuqing, hand over the rest of the medicine. The atmosphere in the hall turned icy in an instant at that sharp shout. Xia Yuqing jerked her head up. Tears still streaked her face, yet her eyes turned wary. Su Qingya walked over, supported by Li Mingyao. She had changed out of her soiled trousers and wrapped herself in a long overcoat she had found. One side of her face was still swollen from the slap, and her venomous gaze made her look like a vengeful spirit risen from hell. On the way back to the farm, Su Qingya had gone through overwhelming terror and humiliation. All of it had curdled into furious jealousy and hatred toward Lin Mo and Xia Yuqing. She was the privileged daughter of the Su group. All her life, people had catered to her every whim. Today she had been slapped in public and publicly disgraced. If she could not get even, how would she hold her standing in the group? So once back at the farm and seeing how effective Xia Yuqing's medicine was, her twisted mind began plotting again. She dared not provoke Lin Mo, but surely she could bully Xia Yuqing. What do you think you're doing, Su Qingya? Xia Yuqing clutched the 2 remaining medicine boxes tight against her chest, like a mother hen guarding her chicks, staring coldly at the other girl. What am I doing? I'm thinking of the good of the whole group. Su Qingya sneered and held out her hand. This medicine cured Zhang Yao, so it is precious life-saving supplies. Out here in the wilderness, no one can guarantee they will not get hurt or fall ill tomorrow. Since we are a team, such valuable medical supplies must be handed over to the group. I, as our core leader, will keep and distribute them. Are you hoarding those 2 boxes so you can watch the rest of us die when we get hurt? Her high-sounding words were barefaced banditry. Xia Yuqing laughed bitterly through her anger. Her jaw tightened, and she refused to back down. Su Qingya, have you no shame? I knelt and begged Lin Mo for this medicine, risking my own safety to get it. Why should it be group property? Back at Lin Mo's camp you hid, and did not dare speak up. You tried to steal his things and cowered from one blow from him. Now that we are back here you strut around playing boss. What kind of core leader are you? You. Mention of her earlier cowardice hit Su Qingya like a whip. Her face flushed bright red, and she shrieked in rage. Xia Yuqing, you shameless wretch. Do you think begging that man is something to be proud of? To cover up her own fear and shame, Su Qingya began spreading malicious rumors. Lin Mo is a dangerous, twisted man that he only gave you that medicine to stir division among us. He wants us to turn on one another so he can reap the benefits and gain power over all of us. You are his accomplice now. You have been brainwashed by him. Growing more agitated, Su Qingya turned toward the weak girls around her and shouted to stir panic. Girls, do not be fooled. Lin Mo is violent. He can smash a tree with one punch. If he wanted to harm us, none of us could stop him. We only hold bargaining power if we control our own supplies. That medicine in Xia Yuqing's hands is our whole class's chance to survive. She cannot keep it all for herself. Su Qingya might have been foolish, but she knew how to fan fear and stir up crowds. Already worn down by food poisoning and shock, the girls teetered on the edge of breakdown. Hearing the words, chance to survive, their eyes fixed greedily on the medicine box in Xia Yuqing's arms. Out here where death loomed at every turn, everyone craved an extra chance to live. Yaya is right. That medicine ought to be kept by the group. Lu Yunyan, who had been watching quietly from the side, stepped forward. She had suffered a setback with Lin Mo, but among these girls she remained the supervising teacher skilled at mediating conflicts. Lu Yunyan put on a solemn, earnest expression. Yuqing, I know you went through a lot to get that medicine. Now that Zhang Yao's fever has broken, it is not safe for you to keep the rest. What if it gets lost or wet? Let Su Qingya and me store it. We can give it to whoever grows sick. It is for everyone's sake. Cut the crap. Before Xia Yuqing could reply, Chun Shi strode forward and pointed angrily at Lu Yunyan and Su Qingya. Lu Yunyan, stop pretending to be noble. Where was this concern for the group when we divided fish yesterday? Su Qingya took most of the fish for herself and threw rotten fruit into the fire. Where was the collective good then? Chun Shi gripped her wooden spear tightly, her eyes full of contempt. Now you see life-saving medicine bought with another person's dignity and you want to rob it. I am telling you, not one touch of that medicine, not while I am still standing here. Lu Jia also stepped firmly beside Xia Yuqing. Though her body trembled, her resolve was unshakable. Yes, the medicine belongs to Yuqing. No one is taking it. You dare defy us. Li Mingyao jumped to Su Qingya's defense and called to several girls behind her. What are you waiting for? She is hoarding our life-saving supplies. Go get that medicine. Tensions flared dangerously. The neutral girls did not rush forward, but they formed a loose encirclement, ready to move. Xia Yuqing hugged the medicine boxes tightly. Her fingernails dug into her palms. She stared at her former classmates, her heart turning cold. This was human nature. Faced with death, these ordinary college girls cast aside basic morality. You want to steal it? Come on. Chun Shi let out a bitter laugh. She slammed her spear against the ground and dropped into a fighting stance. Her gaze sharp and ferocious. I killed 2 wolves last night. I am not afraid of bullies who only prey on their own kind. Come and try if you do not fear injury. The bloodstained spear and Chun Shi's murderous aura froze the girls who had been about to advance. They had watched her drive that spear into a wolf's head the night before. None dared provoke her. Fighting would shatter their already fragile group completely. Lu Yunyan realized that if the group fell apart, she would be left alone to face the wilderness with no hope of survival. Stop this at once. Lu Yunyan hurried to intervene, softening her tone. We are all classmates. Talk this through. Violence solves nothing. Yuqing, we will not force you to hand it over. But you must promise. If someone's life is truly on the line, you cannot refuse to help. Lu Yunyan saved face for herself while binding Xia Yuqing with moral pressure. Xia Yuqing stared coldly at her, said nothing, and tucked the medicine boxes deep inside her inner pocket. Su Qingyao burned with rage, but facing Chun Shi's spear, she bit back her anger. Fine. Keep your stupid medicine. She spat a vicious curse and retreated to a corner. The fight over the medicine subsided for the time being, yet deep, irreparable rifts had torn open within the farm group. A stomach rumbled loudly in the silence. Everyone fell quiet. The medicine crisis had been temporarily contained, yet a far more urgent, deadly problem stared them in the face. Hunger. They had gone a full day and night without proper food. The little half-cooked wolf meat from the previous night had given almost no energy, and many had grown sick with diarrhea. If they found food soon, starvation would kill them long before the wolves returned. We cannot sit and wait to die. Lu Yunyan took a deep breath and pulled herself together. We cannot count on Lin Mo. The forest holds unknown dangers. This farm is our only hope. People once lived here. Something must remain. She pushed up her glasses and gave orders. Split into 3 teams. Search every corner of this farm. Dig if you must. Find anything edible or useful tools. Inside the rundown farmhouse, the air was heavy and suffocating. Yuqing, a faint voice broke the hush in the corner. Xia Yuqing jerked around. Lying on the makeshift bedding, Zhang Yao had opened her eyes. Her face remained deathly pale, her lips cracked, but her gaze was clear. Lin Mo's potent medicine had pulled her back from the brink of death. Yao Yao, you are awake. Tears streamed down Xia Yuqing's face. She gripped Zhang Yao's hands, her voice shaking. Zhang Yao managed a weak, pained smile. Do not cry. I am still here. That medicine came from Lin Mo, didn't it? Xia Yuqing nodded. She told Zhang Yao what had happened at Lin Mo's camp and how Su Qingyao had tried to seize the medicine. Disgust and helplessness flickered across Zhang Yao's face. Su Qingyao will never change. She gasped for breath, squeezing Xia Yuqing's hand. Yuqing, you suffered so much for me. Do not say that. As long as you live, nothing else matters. Xia Yuqing wiped her tears. Listen to me. Zhang Yao glanced towards Su Qingyao and the others organizing the search and lowered her voice. We are outnumbered. Chun Shi fights well, but she cannot stand against everyone. Hide the medicine and avoid open conflict. Once I recover, the 3 of us plus Chun Shi and Lu Jia will leave this group. We will survive on our own, far away from these selfish people. Though gravely weakened, Zhang Yao remained fiery-tempered and saw their situation clearly. Well, look who is still alive. Our tough survivor Zhang Yao. Su Qingyao sauntered over, arms folded. She looked down on the sick girl with undisguised mockery. You owe your life to medicine Xia Yuqing begged for from Lin Mo. Su Qingyao raised her voice so everyone nearby could hear. Zhang Yao, can you live with yourself using something gained by groveling to that man? Su Qingyao, you are asking for trouble. Chun Shi flared up and started forward with her spear. Chun Shi hold back. Zhang Yao grabbed Chun Shi's trouser leg with her last strength and fixed Su Qingyao with an icy stare. Let her bark. We do not have to stoop to her level. But mark my words, when I get my strength back, I will make you answer for every cruel word. Su Qingyao flinched under that menacing glare. She snorted and walked away. Enough of this. Start searching. Lu Yunyan hurried to get everyone moving. She needed work to distract them from hunger and internal strife. All but the gravely ill and those assigned to care for them scattered across the farm. They rummaged through cupboards and dug at the ground. But the farm had been abandoned for far too long. The main hall and upper floor held only dust, broken furniture, and worthless junk. Not a single grain of food was to be found. Teacher Lu, there is nothing here. Nothing but rat droppings. Not even any rats to eat. Despair weighed on the girls. Their strength drained away, and gnawing hunger burned in their stomachs. The backyard. Move all that piled up debris. Lu Yunyan refused to give up and led them to the overgrown rear yard. An old well stood there, alongside piles of rotting planks, rusted metal barrels, and broken farm tools. Move every board. Driven by raw survival instinct, the girls summoned their last reserves of strength. They shifted heavy debris through dust and stench. Bang! As Li Mingyao heaved aside a large waterproof tarpaulin, the ground beneath her gave a hollow thud. Wait! Chen Shi noticed the anomaly at once. She hurried over and tapped the earth with her spear. Thud, thud, thud. The sound echoed. There was empty space underneath. Scrape away this topsoil. Several girls scraped at the dirt with their bare hands. Soon they uncovered a heavy wooden slab covered in moss, fitted with rusted iron rings. A basement entrance. Lu Yunyan's voice trembled with excitement. On an old farm, basements were often storage cellars. They might hold long-keeping food. Everyone, pull together. Heave it open. Chen Shi, Su Qingya, Li Mingyao and several others grabbed the iron rings and pulled with all their might. Creak. The heavy stonewood slab grated slowly aside. Cold, damp air thick with mildew and a faint smell of alcohol billowed out of the black opening. A wine cellar. It really is an old wine cellar. Cheers burst out. Some girls cried in relief. Chen Shi lit a crude torch and descended the worn stone steps first. The cellar was small, roughly 20 square meters, with brick-lined walls. Several huge oak barrels sat in the corners. Yet when they eagerly lifted the barrel lids, the barrels were long dry, holding only black sediment at the bottom. The shelves along the walls stood bare. Not a single can of food remained. How can this be? There is nothing to eat at all. Li Mingyao sank to the dusty floor and wept. Crushing disappointment shattered many girls' fragile mental defenses. Look over there. Su Qingya suddenly pointed toward the darkest corner of the cellar, shouting sharply. Chen Shi held the torch high and walked over. Beneath a damp cloth lay several items. 3 rusted shovels, their edges still sharp. 2 heavy rusted hatchets for chopping wood. Most striking of all, 2 reasonably well-preserved crossbows, with more than a dozen rusted metal bolts scattered beside them. Weapons. Real weapons. Su Qingya lunged forward. She grabbed a heavy hatchet in one hand and a crossbow in the other, her eyes blazing with wild excitement. Hopelessness over the missing food vanished. Every girl's breath quickened. Out in the wilderness, weapons meant safety almost as much as food. Ha ha ha. Fate has not abandoned us. Su Qingya lifted hatchet and crossbow high, consumed by wild elation. With these real tools, what had they to fear from wolves? What had they to fear from Lin Mo? Girls, do you see this? This is a sign. She turned and rallied the crowd like a fiery orator. We do not need to rely on men. We do not need to beg Lin Mo for anything. He survives well only because he carries a big machete. Now we have weapons too. Shovels, hatchets, crossbows that shoot from afar. 30 of us. Are we not stronger than one single man? She waved the crossbow, overcome with fervor. With these weapons we can hunt. Rabbits, pheasants, even the wolves we saw. We can prove we can thrive without relying on anyone. We will show Lin Mo we can survive and do better without him. All female independence. No men needed. Amid this oppressive and despairing environment, Su Qingya's inflammatory speech, backed by the real weapons in her hands, instantly ignited the inner confidence of the girls present. You're right, Yi. We have weapons now. We don't have to be afraid anymore. Tomorrow we'll go hunting. Get our own meat. Let that creep Lin Mo go to hell. Li Mingyao and the others echoed wildly, and the wine cellar echoed with near-frenzied collective fervor. Chen Shi watched these delirious women, swept away by a rusty machete, and felt only sorrow deep down. Did they really think a shoddy crossbow would let them run wild in the wilderness? If they ran into elite wolf packs like the ones from the night before, those rusty scraps of metal would not even be enough to tickle a beast. Still, there was nothing she could do to stop these women caught up in their frenzy. Good. Su Qingya brought her machete crashing down onto a nearby wooden frame and issued a forceful order. Everyone get an early night to conserve your strength. At dawn tomorrow, I will personally lead the team into the forest to hunt with our weapons. I swear we will bring back prey and prove our strength to that obnoxious man Lin Mo. I want to see him kneel at the farm gate, begging us to spare him a bite of meat. Early the next morning, a thin mist hung over the primeval forest. Lin Mo slowly opened his eyes on his warm wolfskin bed. He exhaled slowly, pushed himself upright, and stretched lazily. Crack crock, bones popped. His triple-enhanced body brimmed with surging power coursing through every limb, like a dormant, furious dragon. The exhaustion from slaying 8 elite wolves the night before had completely faded, thanks to the system's primary healing potion and a full night's sleep. He walked to the edge of his camp and washed simply with purified water. With a thought, he pulled a large leftover roasted wolf leg from his storage space. Thanks to its permanent fresh property, the roast still steamed as if it had just come off the fire. The aroma of cumin and rendered fat filled the air. Lin Mo bit into it greedily, letting golden crispy fat burst across his tongue. High-calorie food rapidly restored his stamina. That unique sense of security unique to the post-apocalyptic world felt deeply satisfying. As he ate, the cold mechanical voice echoed in his mind. Ding. Detected host possesses adequate wilderness combat capability. Current level, 1 shelter can no longer meet future survival demands. Main quest updated. Construct level, 2 camp. Quest description. Wilderness dangers come not only from beasts, but also from incoming harsh weather. Within 3 days, gather large quantities of lumber and stone. Upgrade the existing wooden windbreak wall to a mixed stone-wood defensive wall. And build a level 2 log cabin with strong cold-proof and rainproof capabilities. Quest reward. Survival points plus 200. Advanced blueprint mystery box times 1. Lin Mo paused, a sharp glint in his eyes. A level 2 camp. Just what I need. He gulped down the last mouthful of meat and tossed the bone out of the camp. He had already realized the night before that the rickety wooden windbreak wall could only hold off ordinary beasts. Against larger mutated monsters, it would collapse after a few impacts. If he wanted to survive safely for 30 days in this deadly forest, his camp had to become an impenetrable fortress. He grabbed his gleaming fine steel machete and stepped energetically out of camp. He activated intermediate all things analysis. Swish. Within a 500-meter radius, resource locations lit up on his retina like a holographic map. 100 meters ahead to the left, century-old red pine tree. Hard-grained wood, excellent building material. 200 meters ahead to the right, granite rock zone. Abundant stone resources. Moving like a nimble cheetah, Lin Mo plunged deep into the dense woods. Reaching a red pine as thick as a thigh, he drew a deep breath. His right arm bulged with muscle, and the steel machete sliced through the air with a shrill whistle, striking hard. Bang, bang, bang. Wood chips flew everywhere. Hardwood that would take an ordinary person ages to cut with a chainsaw crumbled like tofu before his tripled strength and sharp blade. In less than 3 minutes, the tall red pine crashed to the ground. He swiftly stripped off branches, cut the trunk into standard 3-meter lengths, and stowed them in his storage space. He repeated the process, felling more than a dozen red pines in short order. Then he moved to the granite zone. He lifted 100-pound boulders with one hand and tossed them into storage as if they were bricks. In just 2 hours, he had gathered all the base materials for the level 2 defensive wall. He was about to head back and begin construction when intermediate all things analysis flashed a harsh red warning. Ding! 400 meters straight ahead. Large quantities of fresh animal droppings and feeding marks detected. Target analysis. Herd of adult wild goats, approximately 7 to 10 individuals. Value assessment. Extremely tender high-protein meat. Goat hides can be crafted into high-grade cold-weather clothing. Horns can be polished into weapons. Wild goat herd. Lin Mo halted abruptly, his gaze sharpening. Wolf meat filled his stomach, but it grew tough after too many meals. Wild goats were top-tier wilderness prey. This whole herd meant massive survival points and valuable supplies. He muted his footsteps and slipped forward like a ghost, pushing thick brush aside. He crouched behind a giant ancient tree and peered out. On a sun-facing slope, 7 or 8 plump wild goats grazed peacefully on grass. The leading ram was larger than a wild boar, its 2 thick, curved horns pointing skyward like scythes. Fine prize. Lin Mo licked his lips, holding back his urge to attack. Wild goats were extremely alert and fast. On this complex hilly terrain, a reckless charge would scare them away even with his tripled physique. He scanned the surroundings, quickly mapping out a perfect hunting route and marking key travel paths with his system. I'll finish building the camp first. Tomorrow I'll come for you. With a cold smirk, he silently withdrew from the area and strode back toward his camp. Meanwhile, 800 meters away at the wilderness farm, the atmosphere stood in jarring contrast to Lin Mo's efficient, calm survival routine. Clang, clang, clang. Harsh, unrhythmic chopping echoed from the woods behind the farm. Su Qingya gripped the rusty machete unearthed from the old wine cellar and hacked furiously at a small tree only as thick as an arm. Damn it! Why is this lousy blade so dull? Gasping for breath, Su Qingya stopped. She stared at the faint white gashes on the trunk and cursed in frustration. She had imagined that with weapons, cutting wood and building traps would be simple work. Reality dealt her a brutal blow. Buried in the wine cellar for untold years, the machete was heavily rusted and so dull it could barely slice vegetables. Moreover, Su Qingya was a sheltered young woman who had never done manual labor. She had no proper technique and relied entirely on brute force chopping. Vibrations jarred her wrists raw. Blisters burst open across her soft palms, and tears pricked her eyes from the pain. "Yeah, are you all right? Should we rest a little?" Li Mingyao stepped forward, feigning concern as she looked at Su Qingya's bleeding hands. "Rest? Lin Mo can build traps, so why can't we?" Su Qingya refused to back down. She would not lose face in front of the other girls, and she would never admit she was inferior to Lin Mo. "Li Mingyao, come over. Grab that shovel and dig a pit right here." Su Qingya directed Li Mingyao and the other girls to dig clumsily at the ground. They knew nothing about camouflage or animal travel routes. They dug shallow pits barely wider than basins, jammed crudely whittled sticks into the bottoms, and covered everything with leaves. "This is a spike trap." Su Qingya planted her hands on her hips and smiled confidently at her shoddy handiwork. "When hares or pheasants fall in, the spikes will kill them. Then we'll have meat." Weak with hunger, the surrounding girls nodded reluctantly in agreement. Reality struck faster than a tornado. Drawn by the noise, a small gray hare poked its head out from the bushes. "A rabbit. It's really a rabbit." Li Mingyao shrieked excitedly, pointing. Startled, the hare bolted. It fled straight onto Su Qingya's prize trap. It fell in. It fell in. Su Qingya cheered and charged forward with her machete, ready to claim her trophy. When she reached the pit, she froze completely. The hare had indeed tumbled inside, but the pit was far too shallow. The hare was unharmed. The crudely carved sticks snapped cleanly under its soft paws. The hare paused for a moment in the pit, almost as if judging Su Qingya, then pushed off with its hind legs, leaped effortlessly out of the hole, and vanished into the woods. Silence. Dead silence hung over the group. The joy on Li Mingyao and the others' faces froze solid. Starvation-glazed eyes stared in disbelief. They had labored all morning, hurt their hands, and produced a useless contraption that could not even catch a rabbit. Crushing hunger and exhaustion finally shattered the already fragile mood of the girls. "What kind of trap is this? It breaks on contact. We're starving to death. We wasted half a day and didn't even get a single hare. Maybe we ought to go beg Lin Mo for help." Grumbling spread through the crowd. Mention of Lin Mo made Su Qingya's face darken with rage. "Shut up. Anyone who dares speak that man's name will be kicked out of our all-female group," she shouted in angry embarrassment, forcing herself to stay composed. Glancing at the wrecked trap, she gritted her teeth. "Passive traps are foolish. They don't suit our intelligent team. Since traps won't work, we will hunt actively." She snatched up the rusty crossbow from the wine cellar, a hard glint in her eyes. "We have ranged weapons. This afternoon I will lead the hunting party into the woods. I refuse to believe that with our wits and our weapons, we cannot get food." As afternoon wore on, sunlight slanted low and temperatures slowly dropped. Su Qingya led Li Mingyao and several other followers, clutching the two rust-covered crossbows. They crept cautiously along the forest edge. Still shaken by the wolf attack the night before, they dared not venture deep, wandering no farther than 200 meters from the farm. "Yeah, is this crossbow even going to work?" Li Mingyao stumbled along, weak with hunger. "Of course. It is a ranged weapon with great power." Su Qingya glared, clinging to her leader persona. Privately, she had serious doubts. Though imposing-looking, the crossbow's bowstring was old, slack, and full of cracks, its metal parts eaten away by rust. For nearly an hour they wandered aimlessly on the forest edge, returning only with mosquito bites and thorn-torn clothing. Just as they grew light-headed from hunger and prepared to turn back, Su Qingya held up a hand. Quiet. Not a sound. Her eyes locked onto thick brush a dozen meters ahead. A plump brown hare crouched there, nibbling grass roots. "Pray." Li Mingyao and the others' eyes lit up, mouths watering. Su Qingya drew a shaky breath and knocked a rusty bolt onto the string. Squinting one eye, she imitated marksmen she had seen on television and aimed the sight at the hare. "Die," she thought, and pulled the trigger. Thunk. A dull, lifeless twang echoed. The rusty bolt arced feebly through the air. No sharp whistling of flight, no piercing force. It landed in the grass 3 full meters short of the hare, not touching a single hair. The hare flinched at the noise, glanced at the useless metal bolt, then darted into the underbrush and disappeared. Su Qingya stood frozen, still holding the firing posture. Li Mingyao and the others stared in shock. This is the great power you talked about?" one girl asked tearfully. "This broken thing can't even shoot 3 meters. How are we supposed to hunt? I just haven't gotten used to it." Su Qingya's face burned bright red as she made excuses. "The bowstring is worn out from age. The other crossbow will work better." No amount of arguing could change the facts. Over the next 2 hours they spotted more hares and pheasants. Either the string would not draw, bolts flew weakly, or once a bolt jammed in the track and nearly injured Su Qingya's own hand. After an entire afternoon of fruitless effort, the so-called intelligent hunting party came back with nothing. Hunger and fatigue broke everyone's spirit. I can't go on. I can barely walk. Li Mingyao collapsed onto the ground, clutching her cramping stomach and crying. Yeah, let's go back. We will starve to death out here before any beast gets us. The other girls sank to the ground too, complaining bitterly. Their gazes towards Su Qingya held no more respect, only deep doubt and resentment. Su Qingya's jaw tightened. She knew the hunt had failed completely. Returning empty-handed would destroy the authority she had built. Back to the farm. She threw the crossbow angrily onto the ground and stormed away. Meanwhile, several hundred meters away beside a shallow stream, Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia had not joined Su Qingya's futile expedition. They knew full well that pampered girls armed with rusty junk could never hunt successfully in this dangerous wilderness. Wasting strength following them made no sense. They needed to find food on their own. Zhang Yao's fever had broken, yet she remained gravely weak. Without protein and nourishment, she would not survive many more days. Yuqing, there aren't even small fish in this stream. Lu Jia poked the frigid water with a sharpened stick. Her hands were bright red from the cold, tears welling in her eyes. Don't give up. Keep looking. If nothing else, we can dig up edible roots. Xia Yuqing rolled up her trousers and stepped into the mucky stream, turning over every stone. When she flipped over a large moss-covered boulder, mud beneath it stirred. Xia Yuqing froze and peered closely. Buried in the silt beneath the rock sat several large frogs. As temperatures dropped, they were preparing for hibernation and moved sluggishly. Clustered together, their brown-mottled bodies were each as big as an adult fist. Frogs. Lu Jia frogs. Xia Yuqing's voice trembled with excitement, and she gestured her friend over quietly. Real food. Lu Jia scrambled over, tears of relief filling her starved eyes. Shoo, keep quiet and move slowly. Xia Yuqing suppressed her instinctive revulsion toward amphibians and plunged both hands into the icy mud. Already preparing to hibernate, the frogs offered no resistance. In less than 10 minutes, they caught 7 plump frogs. They strung them together with tough vines. The heavy bundle represented hope for survival. 7 frogs. It is not much, but roasted, they will give Yao Yao the nutrition she desperately needs. Xia Yuqing wiped sweat from her forehead and smiled for the first time in a long while. Hurry back. We have to roast them in secret. Don't let Su Qingya and the others see us. Lu Jia hid the vine-strung frogs inside her tattered coat. The 2 girls headed hopefully toward the farm cabins. But misfortune found them. As they reached the rear edge of the farm, they ran straight into Su Qingya's exhausted, starved group returning empty-handed. At the sight of Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia, Su Qingya's already gloomy expression darkened further. Well, if it isn't our top scholar. Skipping the hunt to slack off somewhere. Su Qingya sneered sarcastically. Xia Yuqing ignored her and tugged Lu Jia, trying to slip past. Then one fat frog stirred inside Lu Jia's coat and let out a faint croak. The sound was soft, yet it cut through the quiet backyard like a thunderclap. Su Qingya halted. Her hunger-glazed eyes locked onto Lu Jia's coat, and she sniffed sharply. What are you hiding there? She strode forward, tore Lu Jia's coat open without warning. Clatter. The string of plump frogs bound by vines tumbled out into plain sight. Frogs. It's meat. Li Mingyao and the others' eyes instantly turned red, like hungry wolves spotting fresh blood. Saliva uncontrollably trickled down their chins. Su Qingya's eyes blazed with ferocious greed. Without a word, she lunged forward to snatch the vine from Lu Jia's hands. What are you doing? We caught this ourselves. Lu Jia shrieked in fright, clutching the vine tightly. Lu Jia, let go. Su Qingya's face darkened, once again trotting out her shameless, high-handed logic. We're a team. Since you're part of this team, any food you catch belongs to the group. We've been out hunting, slaving away for everyone's survival. How dare you try to hoard food behind our backs? Have you no sense of collective responsibility at all? As Su Qingya shouted self-righteously, she shot Li Mingyao a meaningful glance. Li Mingyao and 2 other girls immediately rushed over. They pried Lu Jia's fingers apart by force and seized the string of field frogs. Give it back. This is for Zhang Yao to regain her strength. Don't you understand she's dying? Xia Yuqing trembled with rage. She rushed forward to take it back, only to be shoved violently to the ground by Li Mingyao. Regain her strength? She's just a dying waste lying on the ground. Food would only be wasted on her. Su Qingya let out a cold sneer and quickly untied the vine. She grabbed the 5 biggest, fattest field frogs for herself, then tossed the two smallest ones onto the ground at Xia Yuqing's feet. Since we're all classmates, I'll leave these two for you. The rest go to me, your team leader, and the hunting party. This is fair distribution based on contribution, only right and proper. With that, ignoring Xia Yuqing's murderous glare, Su Qingya turned and hurried toward the campfire with Li Mengyao and the others, eager to cook their prize. Half an hour later, rich aromas of roasted meat drifted over from the campfire. Starving, Su Qingya's group did not even clean out the frog's innards. They simply roasted them over the flames and stuffed them into their mouths. Crunch, munch. Loud chewing and swallowing sounds echoed through the hall. Su Qingya's mouth glistened with grease. As she ate, she could not help boasting. Delicious. No salt, but wild frog meat is so tender. Xia Yuqing knelt on the cold floor, staring at the two tiny frogs at her feet. She looked up at the group by the fire, shamelessly devouring the life-saving food that had originally belonged to them. Surging humiliation and anger churned like magma in her chest, finally curdling into utter despair. This team was completely rotten. They were selfish, incompetent, and utterly shameless. If they stayed here, Zhang Yao would surely die. She and Lu Jia would be drained dry by these leeches until nothing remained. Xia Yuqing bit down hard on her cracked lips until she tasted blood. A desperate plan took firm shape in her mind. Late at night, the wilderness temperature plummeted, as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Inside the rundown farmhouse cabin, wind whistled through gaping cracks in the walls, wailing like ghosts. The central campfire had long burned out, leaving only faint smoldering embers. Full from their meal, Su Qingya, Li Mengyao, and the others huddled in a sheltered corner under moldy, tattered blankets scavenged from the basement, fast asleep. In the coldest corner farthest from the door, Xia Yuqing, Lu Jia, and Zhang Yao clung tightly to one another, relying only on each other's body heat to fight the bitter cold. Cough, cough. It's so cold. Zhang Yao curled weakly, her body shaking uncontrollably. Lin Mo's medicine had brought down her fever and kept her wound from worsening, yet extreme hunger and cold were steadily draining her last reserves of vitality. Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia had not touched the two small frogs they had been given. They had roasted every bit of it for Zhang Yao, but it was nowhere near enough. Xia Yuqing took off her only thin jacket and draped it gently over Zhang Yao. She squeezed Zhang Yao's ice-cold hands tightly, her eyes burning. She glanced towards Su Qingya's sleeping group, resolve flashing across her face. Yao Yao Jia Jia. Xia Yuqing spoke in a near whisper. We cannot stay here any longer. Lu Jia shuddered. Zhang Yao forced her eyes open. If we stay, Yao Yao will freeze and starve to death. Su Qingya's crowd treats us like disposable tools. They will keep squeezing everything out of us. Xia Yuqing drew a deep breath, having made up her mind. We are leaving. We will go to Lin Mo's camp. Silence fell over the corner. Go to Lin Mo? Lu Jia recalled the words the man had spoken back at his camp, when he had drawn his machete, cold and unyielding. Either work for me, or earn your right to survive through other means. He was a harsh man who believed strictly in fair exchange. Still, compared to the hypocritical, exploitative hell of Su Qingya's group, Lin Mo's camp offered warm fires, life-saving medicine, and real food. Yuqing, you've lost your mind. Lu Jia paled, her voice trembling. Lin Mo won't take us for nothing. What if he demands things we cannot give? I don't care. Before Xia Yuqing could reply, the frail Zhang Yao gritted her teeth, fire blazing in her eyes. We will go. Zhang Yao gasped for breath, gripping Xia Yuqing's wrist hard. If it lets us live, I will scrub his floors, fetch his water, do any menial work he asks. I will submit to whatever terms he sets. I would rather place my life in the hands of someone who can protect us than be tormented to death by Su Qingya's ungrateful lot. Zhang Yao's fierce determination erased the last traces of hesitation from Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia's minds. In this lawless wilderness, dignity meant very little. Under Su Qingya, they were denied even the right to survive. At Lin Mo's camp, at least they could trade their labor for a chance to live. Very well. Gather what little we have. We leave now. Xia Yuqing wasted no time. They owned almost nothing. A few thin pieces of clothing and a cracked plastic water bottle half filled with murky well water. Xia Yuqing wrapped their clothes around Zhang Yao. She and Lu Jia supported her on either side and carefully lifted her to her feet. They moved as quietly as they could toward the main door. Zhang Yao's severe leg injury left her unable to bear weight. She could only be dragged along by her two friends. Crack. As they crossed the center of the hall, Lu Jia's foot kicked a piece of broken plank. The sharp sound echoed through the dead night. Who's there? A light. Sleeping Su Qingya jolted awake. She threw off her blanket. By faint moonlight, She spotted Xia Yuqing and the others heading for the exit. Xia Yuqing, what are you doing out here in the middle of the night? Su Qingya scrambled to her feet. Her shrill shout woke everyone else in the cabin. Li Mingyao and the others rubbed their eyes and stood up. Caught red-handed, Xia Yuqing dropped all pretense. She turned and faced Su Qingya coldly. That is none of your business. Stand aside. None of my business. Su Qingya hurried forward and planted herself squarely in the doorway. Noticing their outer clothes and remembering Xia Yuqing's earlier plea to Lin Mo, she understood their plan instantly. I knew you lot were up to something. Su Qingya's face turned livid. Her authority felt openly challenged. She pointed an angry finger. So you cannot bear hardship here, and you plan to go throw yourselves at that man? Xia Yuqing, how shameless. You begged him for help in broad daylight, and now you sneak off in the night to seek shelter with him. How disgraceful for fellow college students to go running to rely on a strange man for safety. You bring shame on all of us. Su Qingya hurled insult after insult. The other girls murmured among themselves, staring at the three runaways with contempt. But Xia Yuqing would not back down this time. She handed Zhang Yao over to Lu Jia, stepped forward, and met Su Qingya's gaze with icy, unflinching eyes. Su Qingya, shut your mouth. Her voice was quiet yet firm. We are shameless, relying on others for survival. It is 1,000 times better than being slowly crushed to death by a hypocritical leech like you. Xia Yuqing pointed directly at Su Qingya, every word striking like a hammer. You stole our food and let Zhang Yao suffer. You hoard warm supplies while we freeze in the corner. What kind of leader are you? You are nothing but cruel. I swear, I would rather die out there, torn apart by wild beasts, than spend one more second in this hell you rule. Get out of our way. Xia Yuqing shoved Su Qingya hard. Caught off guard, Su Qingya stumbled and crashed into the doorframe. You dared push me. Su Qingya clutched her sore shoulder, burning with rage. Malice blazed in her eyes. You want to leave? Fine. She spun around and roared at Li Mingyao and the others, dropping all pretense. But those clothes are group property. Strip off their outer layers and take that half-bottle of water too. The atmosphere turned ice, cold. No one had expected Su Qingya to be so vicious. With temperatures hovering near zero, taking away their only warm clothing and their water amounted to a death sentence. Su Qingya, you are insane. You will kill us with cold. Lu Jia screamed in despair. You chose to abandon the group. If you are no longer one of us, why should you take group supplies with you? Su Qingya sneered, her pretty features twisted grotesquely in the moonlight. Li Mingyao, what are you waiting for? Do it. Li Mingyao and several other girls advanced menacingly. Don't you dare touch them. At this critical moment, Chun-Shi stepped forward, holding a blood-stained wooden spear. She planted herself firmly in front of Xia Yuqing's group. Her cold gaze swept over Li Mengyao's party, and they froze in their tracks. Chun-Shi, what is this? Are you rebelling? Su Qingya barked. Rebelling? I never recognized you as our leader in the first place. Chun-Shi gave a bitter laugh. Her gaze flicked over Xia Yuqing and Zhang Yao. She respected Lin Mo's strength, yet her pride kept her from seeking shelter under another person the way Xia Yuqing intended. She wanted to survive on her own merits. I respect your choice. Everyone makes their own path, and I will not stop you. Chun-Shi pointed her spear at Su Qingya. But those clothes belong to them. Anyone who tries to take them by force will taste my spear. Threatened by Chun-Shi's weapon, Su Qingya hesitated, her expression shifting back and forth. Now everyone calm down. We are all classmates. There is no need for such strife. Seeing the situation spiral out of control, Lu Yunyan stepped in with her usual manipulative kindness. She walked into the middle and sighed theatrically towards Xia Yuqing. Yuqing, it is freezing outside. The woods are full of dangerous beasts. It is far too dangerous for you girls out there. Qingya is only angry. Apologize and stay. Lu Yunyan pretended to persuade them to stay, yet inwardly, she hoped these troublesome rebels would vanish. Without them, no one would dare question her influence in the farmhouse. Save your fake concern. It makes me sick. Xia Yuqing saw right through her. Still, Xia Yuqing knew Chun-Shi could shield them only for a moment. She could not escort them all the way to Lin Mo's camp. If fighting broke out, the already fragile Zhang Yao would not survive. Jia, hand over our jackets. Xia Yuqing made a painful, resolute decision. Yuqing. Lu Jia stared at her in shock. Take them. Xia Yuqing took off her last long-sleeved jacket and threw it hard at Su Qingya's face. Tears streaming down her cheeks, Lu Jia took off hers as well. Xia Yuqing tossed the half-empty bottle of murky water onto the floor. Su Qingya, Lu Yunyan. This is the last thing we give to this so-called group. Dressed only in a thin short, sleeved shirt, and shivering in the chill, Xia Yuqing held her back straight. From this moment onward, we owe you nothing. If we die out in the wild, that is our fate. But if we manage to live, her eyes burned like a wolf's as she stared at Su Qingya. Every wrong you have done to us today will be paid back many times over. Then Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia supported Zhang Yao between them. The three girls, clad in only light clothing, stepped out of the broken farmhouse door without looking back, vanishing into the pitch, black, frigid night. Watching them go, Su Qingya picked up the discarded jackets, a cruel smile tugging at her lips. Go on then. Run to him. Let us see whether you can even make it to his camp alive. Outside the farmhouse, the wind cut like blades, biting into Xia Yuqing's exposed skin. Without warm outerwear, the bitter cold seeped straight through their thin shirts, draining their body heat. So cold, it hurts. Zhang Yao's consciousness blurred. Her lips turned purple. Every step sent tearing pain through her wounded leg. Yao Yao, hold on. We are almost there. Lin Mo's camp is just ahead. Xia Yuqing's teeth chattered violently. She bit her tongue hard, using pain to keep herself awake. She and Lu Jia dragged Zhang forward with every last ounce of strength across the dark forest edge. 800 meters would normally take 10 minutes. But in this pitch, black, deadly wilderness, it stretched into an endless road toward death. Dry twigs cracked under their feet. Every rustle in the bushes sent terror racing through their hearts. They had traveled roughly 300 meters when, rustle, rustle, heavy, menacing sounds came from the thick bushes off to their right. Xia Yuqing froze. Every hair on her body stood on end. A crushing sense of mortal danger washed over her like ice, cold water. Yuqing, what is it? Lu Jia's voice shook. Be quiet. Xia Yuqing stared hard at the swaying bushes, barely daring to breathe. The scent of blood from Zhang Yao's injury, mixed with their own exhausted, vulnerable presence, had drawn a deadly predator out of the darkness. Snort, snort, rough, wheezing breathing echoed. Two enormous shadows emerged from the underbrush, blocking their path. Beneath the pale moonlight, Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia saw what they were facing. Two full, grown wild boars, each as big as a small tank. Coarse black bristles jutted from their bodies. Heavy hooves scraped against the dirt. Most terrifying of all were their long, curved tusks, more than 10 centimeters long, glinting coldly in the moonlight. Boars had poor eyesight, but an exceptional sense of smell. They had caught the scent of blood. To them, these three defenseless girls were tonight's prey. Snort, snort. The larger male boar lowered its tusk-lined head, pawing furiously at the ground. It was getting ready to charge. Even large predators avoided enraged adult boars. Faced with these ferocious beasts, the girls' courage crumbled completely. They had no weapons. Their strength was nearly spent. They could not even run. In the bitter wind, the shadow of death closed in around them. Are we going to die here? Lu Jia squeezed her eyes shut, silent tears streaming down her face. Xia Yuqing shielded Zhang Yao behind her. Staring at the boar about to charge, she was filled with bitter hopelessness. Would they die out here, before they even reached Lin Mo's camp? Snort, snort. The ragged wheezing carried on through the dark woodland. The stench of mud and rot washed over the three girls. Two tank-sized wild boars blocked their path. Moonlight glinted off their sharp, pointed bristles and dripping, curved tusks. Those tusks could shatter thick tree trunks, let alone human flesh and bone. We are going to die. Lu Jia shook uncontrollably and sank to her knees in the freezing mud. Tears poured down her face. Terror had robbed her of the instinct to flee. Don't be afraid, Jia Jia. Don't be afraid. Xia Yuqing bit her chapped lips hard, using the pain to force herself to stay conscious. Clad only in a thin short-sleeved shirt, her frail body blue with cold stood firmly between Zhang Yao, Lu Jia, and the danger ahead. Yet her violently trembling legs betrayed the fear churning inside her. College students raised in a civilized world had never laid eyes on terrifying beasts that belonged only to nightmares. Yuqing, Jia. Just then, Zhang Yao, sheltered behind them, let out a desperate cry thick with sobs. Let me go? Run while you can. Summoning the last shred of strength in her body, Zhang Yao shoved Xia Yuqing, who was supporting her. The force threw her off balance, and she crashed heavily onto the leaf-strewn muddy ground. The deep gash on her right leg tore open once more. Fresh scarlet blood welled up at once, staining the soil beneath her. Agonizing pain racked Zhang Yao's body, but she clamped her jaw shut, refusing to utter a single whimper. My femoral artery is torn. I can't move an inch. I'm nothing but a burden, a useless wreck. Zhang Yao screamed frantically at Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia amid desperate tears. If you drag me along, none of us will escape. We'll all die here. You were chased out by Su Qingya and her vicious lot because of me. You don't even have clothes or clean water left. I, Zhang Yao, owe you everything. I'll repay you in my next life if I have to. Now leave me. Get away as fast as you can." Weeping bitterly, Zhang Yao dug her hands into the frigid mud, trying to drag her injured body toward the two wild boars. She planned to draw the raging beast's attention with her own body, buying her best friends even a few precious seconds to flee. "Yao Yao, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind?" Xia Yuqing's eyes burned with panic at Zhang Yao's suicidal move. Her heart squeezed tight by an invisible hand. Without hesitation, she lunged forward, seized Zhang Yao by the shoulders, and dragged her back. "I'm not leaving. We live together, or we die together." Tears spilled from Xia Yuqing's face onto Zhang Yao's cheeks. The usually mild-mannered study committee member spoke with unshakable resolve. "We promised we'd stick together through everything. I will never abandon either of you." Xia Yuqing's right. "We aren't going anywhere." Lu Jia, who had collapsed onto the ground earlier, found a surge of strength from nowhere. She scrambled to her feet, groped blindly in the darkness, and picked up a dry branch with a jagged broken tip. Pointing the sharp end toward the wild boars, she let out a desperate snarl, like a mother beast guarding her young. "We endured endless humiliation and exploitation at that terrible camp. We barely escaped alive. Even if we perish to wild animals, it's better than being tortured to death if we go back." Seeing this, Xia Yuqing also picked up a heavy stone with her numb, frozen hands. Two young women in thin shirts, shivering in the bitter wind, shielded the badly wounded Zhang Yao firmly behind them. They prepared to fight to the bitter end with their fragile lives. Roar! The strong, fresh scent of blood enraged the largest male wild boar. It let out a thunderous, furious roar. Its heavy front hooves churned wildly at the mud, flinging clods of earth everywhere. Bloodshot small eyes glinted with cruelty. Its massive body lowered slightly, every muscle tense to the limit. A deadly charge was imminent. Several hundred meters away, on a sunlit hillside, Lin Mo lurked silently amid the shrubbery, like a shadow merged into the night. He gripped a gleaming high-carbon steel machete tightly in his hand, his breathing steady and calm. His physique, strengthened threefold, left him unaffected by the near-freezing temperatures. Warm blood surged through his veins, stirring the primal excitement of the hunt. His gaze locked onto a herd of wild goats resting dozens of meters away in the night. Thanks to the intermediate skill all things analysis, data on the herd, their weak points, and even tiny shifts in the wind were clearly displayed in his field of vision. That leading ram is the fattest. Its horns can also be crafted into high-quality tools. "You'll be my prey today." Lin Mo licked his lips, the muscles in his legs slowly coiling, like a cheetah ready to pounce. With one burst of speed, boosted by the terrifying explosive power of his enhanced physique, he could slash the ram's neck before the herd could react. But at the very instant he was about to surge forward, ding! The system notification rang abruptly inside his head. A special survival incident detected within 500 meters of the host. Hidden side quest activated, Allegiance of the Exiles. Quest briefing. In this brutal post-apocalyptic wilderness, there are limits to surviving alone. The Level 2 camp established by the host requires labor to keep operations running. 3 female survivors who fled their original group out of despair are now facing a lethal threat from enraged wild boars. They have reached the end of their rope. If the host offers aid, they will wholeheartedly submit and become loyal followers of the host. Quest objective: reach the scene and rescue the 3 exiles before they are killed by the wild boars. Quest reward: survival points plus 150. Unlock special blueprint: basic greenhouse. Acquire loyalty contract ×3 after use. Can view the target's absolute loyalty. They will never betray you. Listening to the string of alerts, Lin Mo froze mid-movement, ready to sprint. Allegiance of the Exiles? He raised an eyebrow, and the group of young women from the farm immediately crossed his mind. They fled their camp deep in the night into this dangerous forest. It must be Xia Yuqing and the others. A cold smirk tugged at Lin Mo's lips. Xia Yuqing had knelt and kowtowed to him earlier that day, begging him to save Zhang Yao. Yet by nightfall, she had been driven out with no supplies. It seemed Su Qingya's reckless scheming was even worse than he'd imagined. But none of that mattered. The rewards offered by the system were incredibly generous. Setting aside the 150 survival points, the basic greenhouse blueprint was an invaluable resource for wilderness survival. With it, he could grow fresh vegetables at the camp even when harsh winter arrived, guaranteeing a steady supply of vitamins. Not to mention the 3 loyalty contracts. Lin Mo believed firmly in fair exchange, yet he understood how unreliable human nature could be. With these contracts, he could safely assign all kinds of work to the three women, making them reliable laborers for his camp. I can hunt the goats tomorrow, but I can't let these three capable workers and the blueprint get torn apart by wild boars. Without hesitation, Lin Mo abandoned the herd right in front of him. He stood abruptly, used the system's event positioning to lock onto Xia Yuqing and the other two's location. Boom. The ground beneath Lin Mo's feet caved in slightly, a crater formed by his overwhelming explosive strength. He pushed his threefold enhanced physical capabilities to the extreme. He turned into a dark bolt of lightning, tearing through the night and stirring violent gusts of wind as he raced hundreds of meters toward the commotion. Crunch, crunch. Dead branches and leaves shattered under his feet. Thorns and underbrush blocking his path were smashed aside by his powerful body. He was astonishingly fast, outpacing a cheetah at full sprint. The wind howled in his ears, and trees blurred past him. Don't die just yet. Your lives are the reward for my quest. You will become vital members building my settlement. Killing intent blazed in Lin Mo's eyes as he tightened his grip on the machete's hilt. Like a warlord patrolling his territory in the darkness, he closed in rapidly, shrouded in fierce aura. Roar! The furious bellow echoed like thunder, shaking dead leaves loose from the surrounding trees. The enormous male wild boar could no longer contain its bloodlust. Its sturdy limbs thrust hard against the ground. The nearly 400-pound beast charged forward like an out-of-control armored vehicle, bearing down on Xia Yuqing and the others with crushing momentum. Rumble. Heavy hooves pounded the mud, sending faint tremors rippling through the earth. The distance of just over 10 meters was covered in the blink of an eye for the charging boar. A wave of thick, nauseating stench washed over them, pressing Xia Yuqing's thin shirt tight against her body. It's over. Staring at the massive tusks growing larger before her eyes, Xia Yuqing's pupils shrank to pinpricks. Against such raw primal power, the stone clutched in her hands was nothing more than a trivial pebble. Overwhelming fear circuited her mind. Xia Yuqing squeezed her eyes shut, shielding Zhang Yao behind her, waiting for the fatal blow that would tear her open. Lu Jia was so terrified her cries stuck in her throat. The dry branch slipped from her grasp and clattered onto the ground. She stood rigid as a wooden statue. 1 meter. Half a meter. The gleaming boar tusks were less than 30 centimeters away from Xia Yuqing's vulnerable abdomen. At this critical moment, "Beast, get out of the way." A frigid roar, as if rising from the depths of hell, exploded across the night sky. Together with the shout, a tall, agile dark figure sliced through the air above the three girls, leaping down from a towering ancient tree overhead. Bang! Lin Mo unleashed the full might of his threefold enhanced physique. Twisting his waist mid-air, he brought his leg crashing down like a giant battle axe. He struck the charging male wild boar square in the side of its face with thunderous force. Crack! A sharp bone fracture cut through the night. The power of that kick was unimaginable. The nearly 400-pound male boar charging at full speed was struck hard enough to veer sharply off course. Letting out a shrill scream, its huge body was sent flying sideways as if hit head-on by a speeding truck. Thud! The wild boar crashed heavily into a thick tree trunk 5 meters away. The tree shook violently, sending countless leaves showering down. Half of its face was caved in by the blow. One massive tusk snapped cleanly. Blood mixed with shards of bone gushed from its jaws. Silence fell. The sudden turn of events jolted Xia Yuqing and the other two girls out of their trance as they waited for death. When they saw the towering figure standing before them, like a god of slaughter, their breath caught in their throats. Lin Mo. Xia Yuqing stared blankly at the man holding the gleaming steel machete, radiating menacing aura. Tears burst forth uncontrollably. It was Lin Mo. When they had been stripped of all supplies by Su Qingya, cast out by the farm, and were about to die beneath wild beast tusks in despair, the man they had driven away before, whom they had thought cold and heartless, had descended like a deity to stand between them and death. Roar! The slightly smaller female wild boar saw its companion sent flying. Instead of retreating, rage ignited its feral instincts. It let out a savage snarl, pushed off the ground with all 4 limbs, and charged straight for Lin Mo's waist, jaws wide. Foolish. Lin Mo's gaze turned icy, calm and unflinching in the face of the raging boar. Swish! He twisted his wrist, and the steel machete traced a silvery arc beneath the moonlight. His threefold physique pushed his dynamic vision to its limit. The female boar's seemingly lightning, fast charge moved in slow motion to his eyes. He shifted his weight slightly, dodging the deadly tusks at an impossible angle. At the same time, he gripped the hilt with both hands, tensing the muscles in his waist to channel all his strength into the blade. Die! Lin Mo roared. The machete cut through the air like a black streak, slashing precisely into the soft joint gap of the boar's neck. Squelch! Forged high-carbon steel, combined with Lin Mo's inhuman strength, pierced effortlessly through the boar's thick hide and fat. The blade drove onward, severing the carotid artery and windpipe, lodging firmly in the tough cervical vertebrae. OWO! The female boar let out a piercing wail. Blood sprayed outward like a high-pressure fountain, staining the mud a horrifying dark red. Its body continued forward by momentum for several steps before collapsing onto the blood-soaked ground. Its limbs twitched violently, life fading fast. Huff! Huff! Just then, the male boar Lin Mo had struggled back to its feet. Half its face crushed and one tusk broken, the beast's incredible vitality and bloodlust drove it into a crazed frenzy. It charged forward once more, determined to tear the human to shreds. Remarkably tenacious vitality. Lin Mo let out a cold laugh, yanking the machete free from the female boar's neck. A string of scarlet droplets flew from the edge. He advanced rather than retreating against the enraged male boar. Muscles coiled in his legs, he rushed forward like a tiger descending the mountain, meeting the charge head-on. At the split second before collision, Lin Mo suddenly dropped low, executing a tricky sliding dodge, slipping cleanly beneath the boar's tusks. Flash! As they passed one another, Lin Mo swept the machete upward, carving a long gash across the boar's soft underbelly. The blow split its abdomen wide open. A horrifying half-meter wound split open. Viscera and blood spilled onto the ground in a gruesome stream. Thud! The nearly 400-pound male boar crashed onto the mud, sliding more than 10 meters forward from inertia and leaving a gory trail behind it. It let out a faint whimper, twitched a few times, and then fell completely still. Less than 1 minute. In barely 60 seconds, 2 wild boars powerful enough to dominate the forest and overwhelm a dozen grown men were slain by Lin Mo's overwhelming strength, reduced to a bloody mess. Ding. Successfully hunted adult wild boar ×2. Survival points +100. Hidden side quest. Allegiance of the Exiles completed. Quest rewards have been stored in system space. Please check. Hearing the system's notifications in his mind, Lin Mo exhaled slowly. He straightened and flicked his wrist. Splat. Blood was flung off the machete's edge, painting a crimson line across the mud. Beneath the moonlight, Lin Mo's body was splattered with boar blood. An intimidating aura clung to him, as if he were an invincible war god returned from hell. Witnessing this staggering scene, Xia Yuqing, Lu Jia, and Zhang Yao lying on the ground saw their mental defenses crumble completely. They had never imagined that at the lowest point of their despair, facing certain death, this man would snatch them from the jaws of the Reaper with such brutal, overwhelming power. Lin Mo, Xia Yuqing could hold back no longer. She cast aside all reserve, ignored every boundary between men and women, and forgot Lin Mo's stern warning from earlier that day. Staggering to her feet, she ran to him like a frightened bird finding shelter. Ignoring the thick, pungent blood covering his body, she threw herself straight into his embrace. Wah, Lin Mo, thank you. Thank you for saving us. Xia Yuqing wrapped her arms tightly around his waist, burying her face against his chest and weeping openly. All fear, grievance, and despair poured forth in endless tears. Lu Jia rushed over crying as well, clinging to his arm, sobbing uncontrollably. Even Zhang Yao, who had lain in the blood prepared to die, burst into tears. She looked up at the man who seemed like a god. Alongside boundless gratitude, profound submission and reliance filled her gaze. In this cruel post-apocalyptic wilderness, notions of pride and independence meant nothing when survival and overwhelming strength were on the line. Only by relying on this man could they stay alive. They were willing to work diligently for him, and they would not regret it for a moment. Xia Yuqing held Lin Mo's waist in a tight grip, while Lu Jia clung firmly to his arm. Both girls wept bitterly. Hot tears mixed with boar blood streaked pale trails across Lin Mo's solid chest. Lin Mo looked down at the 2 shivering girls in thin short-sleeved shirts, then turned his gaze toward Zhang Yao lying on the muddy ground, tears streaking her face. He did not push them away. If it had been Su Qingya and her group, he would have kicked them away without hesitation. But these 3 young women had brought him water and spoken up for him a few days prior. More importantly, They were valuable laborers for his camp as designated by the system. Enough crying. Stand up now. Lin Mo's tone was calm, lacking the savage ferocity he had shown while slaying the boars. He raised a broad hand and patted Xia Yuqing's back gently. The heavy smell of blood here will draw other predators soon. If you want to live, follow me quickly. The words jolted Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia back to their senses. They hastily pulled away from his embrace. Tear tracks marked their faces, and their lips trembled blue from cold, yet their eyes shone with unprecedented trust and security as they looked at Lin Mo. Lin Mo, what should we do with these two wild boars? Xia Yuqing stared at the boar carcass that looked like a mound of flesh, a flicker of regret crossing her face. All told, the two beasts yielded nearly 400 kilograms of prime meat, but there was no way to haul it away out here in the wilds. Who said we can't move it? A faint smile tugged at Lin Mo's lips. He walked straight over to the boar bodies, and beneath the stunned gazes of the three girls, he waved his hand casually. Whoosh! In the next instant, the two massive beasts on the ground, along with the puddles of flesh and blood scattered around, vanished into thin air. It was as if they had never existed at all. How is that possible? Xia Yuqing, Lu Jia, and Zhang Yao, who was still lying on the ground, all widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. Those enormous boars had disappeared in the blink of an eye. Could it be that Lin Mo had awakened his superpower ahead of time? Don't ask what you shouldn't. Knowing too much will only bring you trouble. Lin Mo shot them a calm glance, with no intention of explaining his storage space. He walked over to Zhang Yao and frowned upon seeing her thigh wound split open again. Without a word, he bent down, braced his arms, and lifted Zhang Yao's delicate frame into a bridal carry. Zhang Yao let out a small gasp and instinctively tried to struggle. But feeling the strength of Lin Mo's arms and catching the faint scent of him, her cheeks flushed bright red. She settled quietly in his embrace, not daring to breathe too loudly. Stick close behind me. Don't fall behind. Holding Zhang Yao, Lin Mo strode toward the campsite. Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia quickly wiped away their tears and hurried after him, terrified of being swallowed by the darkness if they lagged even a step. More than 10 minutes later, when Xia Yuqing and the other two followed Lin Mo through the sturdy wooden and stone windbreak wall, a wave of warmth washed over them like spring sunshine. A blazing bonfire chased away the bone, deep cold. A large bed lined with 13 top-quality wolf pelts exuded an air of unimaginable comfort. In this harsh, freezing wilderness teeming with dangers, this place was nothing short of paradise. Thud! Relief crashed over Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia as they felt the warmth. Their legs buckled, and they slumped down beside the fire, greedily soaking up its heat. Lin Mo gently set Zhang Yao down on the soft wolf pelt bed. Seeing the three girls covered in dirt and shivering, he walked to the edge of the campsite. He pulled several large barrels of purified water out of his storage space and poured them into a huge stone cauldron he had built earlier, setting it over the fire to boil. Afterward, he retrieved a thick plastic sheet and used thick branches to quickly build a simple sheltered washing area inside the windbreak. The water will be hot soon. There are clean towels and spare clothes over there. Lin Mo nodded toward the washing shelter, then gestured to a set of men's sportswear exchanged using survival points nearby, his tone steady. Go wash yourselves. Don't get my campsite dirty. Zhang Yao's injured, so help her clean up. The three girls were stunned by his words. Out here, where even a sip of raw water was a luxury, Lin Mo was boiling purified water for them to wash themselves. Such extravagant treatment left them feeling lightheaded. Lin Mo, thank you. Xia Yuqing's eyes grew moist again. Biting her chapped lips, she and Lu Jia carefully helped Zhang Yao into the makeshift washing area. Soon, the sound of running water came from behind the plastic sheet. Warm, purified water flowed over their frozen bodies, bringing a soothing comfort that made all three girls let out quiet sighs of relief. Washing away the mud and dried blood felt like being reborn. Outside the washing shelter, Lin Mo kept busy. He took out a plump wild pheasant he had hunted earlier, swiftly plucked its feathers and removed its innards, cut it into chunks, and tossed them into a second stone pot. Then he grabbed a handful of fresh wild matsutake mushrooms and seasonings, adding them to the pot to simmer over the fire. Less than half an hour later, a rich, inviting aroma from the meat broth filled the entire campsite, curling upward with rising steam. It smells amazing. The curtain of the washing area was pulled back. The three girls stepped out, supporting one another after cleaning up. Since there was only one spare set of clothes, they had to share it. The oversized men's shirt hung loosely on them, yet still outlined their graceful figures. Fresh from the hot wash, Their complexions glowed pink, as beautiful as lotus flowers just emerging from the water. Finished washing? Come and have some soup. Lin Mo sat beside the fire, stirring the golden pheasant and mushroom broth in the stone pot with a wooden spoon, not looking up. Xia Yuqing and the other two swallowed hard, mouths watering, and obediently sat down by the flames. Lin Mo ladled a large stone bowl of steaming hot soup for each of them, filled with tender chunks of chicken and plump mushrooms. Eat. The three girls held the hot bowls in their hands, and tears dripped into the broth. They sipped the delicious soup slowly. The chicken was cooked so thoroughly it fell off the bone, and the rich flavor of matsutake infused every drop of liquid. With each mouthful, a warm current spread through their bodies, chasing away hunger and cold. It was a stark contrast to their hellish time at the farm, where Su Qingya had snatched even half a bottle of dirty water from them, leaving them shivering in the wind waiting for death. This place truly was paradise. Lin Mo, Lu Jia clutched her stone bowl, staring at him with deep remorse, her voice shaky. I'm sorry. Back at the farm, when Su Qingya and the others forced you to leave, Zhang Yao and I only wanted to survive. We chose to stay out of trouble. We didn't stand with Xia Yuqing to speak up for you. We even pulled her back. I've regretted it ever since. After being driven out by them tonight, I can't help thinking, this was our punishment. Zhang Yao, lying on the wolf pelt bed, also had red eyes and spoke weakly in agreement. Yes, we were cowards. You saved us despite everything, and treat us so well. We don't know how we can ever repay you. Lin Mo frowned slightly at Lu Jia and Zhang Yao's guilty expressions, then waved a hand dismissively. Enough. In that situation, it was only natural for two vulnerable women to try to protect yourselves. I judge people fairly. You didn't help me, but at least you didn't stab me in the back like Su Qingya. He leaned casually against a tree trunk. His gaze was calm, yet carried the imposing aura of someone in charge. Let the past stay in the past. Now that you are in my campsite, follow my rules, and I will keep you alive. Lin Mo's generosity and lack of resentment overwhelmed Xia Yuqing and the other two. They had expected him to humiliate them or make unreasonable demands, yet he acted with such magnanimity. This sharp contrast amplified their gratitude and respect for him immensely. They resolved to trust him completely. Night fell. The bitter wind howled outside the campsite, but within the windbreak, the air stayed comfortably warm. After eating and warming up, Xia Yuqing, Lu Jia and Zhang Yao had regained their strength, and color returned to their faces. Zhang Yao was worn out from her injury and the hot meal. She fell asleep on the edge of the wolf pelt bed, occasionally twitching softly when pain stirred. Lin Mo leaned back against the soft wolf pelt cushion, turning his forged steel machete in his hand. His eyes fixed on the dancing flames as he sank into thought. The firelight flickered across Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia's faces. They exchanged a glance. Both looked shy, but far more determined. In this cruel wilderness, Lin Mo had given them a second chance at life, warmth and food they had never dared hope for. Earlier outside the campsite, they had promised they would do anything if Lin Mo saved Zhang Yao. Now it was time to keep their word. Xia Yuqing took a deep breath and stood up. She walked over to Lin Mo, her normally pure looking face flushed crimson. Lin Mo, her voice was soft and trembling. She looked at him earnestly, ready to offer her loyalty in whatever way she could. Lu Jia gritted her teeth and stepped beside Xia Yuqing, mirroring her resolve. Lin Mo raised an eyebrow, a glint of warmth in his eyes. He was a healthy man, boosted by triple physical enhancements. For 3 days, he had fought to survive in this dangerous wilderness and endured Su Qingya and her group's unpleasant schemes. Yet he did not rush forward recklessly. He remained seated against the bed frame, a smirk playing on his lips. He patted the empty space on the wolf pelt beside him. Come here. 2 simple words, carrying unshakable authority. Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia's faces burned, but they obediently climbed onto the wide, warm wolf pelt bed, settling on either side of Lin Mo. We are here to serve you. Xia Yuqing quickly accepted her new position. She reached out her soft hands and gently massaged Lin Mo's rock, hard shoulder muscles. Lu Jia knelt beside his legs, kneading his tense calves with slender fingers. Lin Mo closed his eyes, enjoying their attentive care and the faint scent lingering on them. Just then, Zhang Yao let out a pained whimper. Her torn wound woke her from sleep. She blinked her eyes clear and froze the moment her vision focused. Seeing Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia tending devotedly to Lin Mo, Zhang Yao's face flushed all the way to her ears. She wished she could vanish on the spot. You're awake. Lin Mo noticed the movement and opened his eyes to look at the flustered Zhang Yao. Come over, I'll dress your wound. Instead of asking Xia Yuqing or Lu Jia to do it, he sat up, retrieved a bottle of system, made powerful anti-inflammatory medicinal powder and clean bandages from his medical pack, and moved beside Zhang Yao. Lin Mo, I can do it myself. Zhang Yao was overwhelmed, trying to sit up, only for a warm hand to press gently against her shoulder. Don't move. His tone was firm, leaving no room for argument. Lin Mo carefully unwrapped the blood-soaked old bandage covering her thigh, revealing the deep, frightening gash. He poured purified water and meticulously cleaned away the dried blood around the injury, then sprinkled the cooling medicinal powder evenly over the wound. The powder brought a brief sting, followed by a soothing coolness that dulled the throbbing agony. Lin Mo's technique was not professionally trained, yet his movements were extremely gentle. Staring at his focused, stern face close by, Zhang Yao's heart skipped a beat and her eyes grew wet again. This man was a ruthless killer when facing wild boars, cold and unyielding towards Su Qingya. Yet he could be so gentle and careful to those under his protection. Lin Mo, thank you. Zhang Yao bit her lower lip, tears rolling down her cheeks. At this moment, her gratitude and admiration for him ran deep in her bones. From now on, my life belongs to you. I will follow every order you give. Overcome with emotion, she spoke earnestly. Lin Mo paused his work wrapping the bandage at the sound. He lifted his head to meet Zhang Yao's flushed, excited face, a playful idea crossing his mind. He reached out, lightly pinched her chin, and leaned in to speak in a low, teasing voice. You don't need to be so formal. I hold absolute authority within this campsite. Instead of addressing me so stiffly, you can call me Lin Ba, or simply Ba Ba if you prefer. At those teasing words, Xia Yuqing, Lu Jia and Zhang Jia's cheeks blazed red. Ba. Overwhelmed with embarrassment, Zhang Yao forced the words out in a faint, alluring whisper. Ha! Lin Mo laughed heartily. His combination of kindness and authority had not only treated Zhang Yao's injury, but also won the three girls' wholehearted loyalty. Winning their trust and devotion far surpassed forcing compliance alone. It was deeply satisfying. That night, the campsite remained warm and peaceful. Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia stayed close beside Lin Mo. Zhang Yao, confined to bed by her injury, rested on the other side. She listened quietly, unable to fall asleep for hours. Meanwhile, 800 meters away from Lin Mo's campsite, inside the dilapidated farm, the scene there resembled an icy prison. Frigid wind streamed through cracks in the wooden house, and the temperature inside the hall plummeted below freezing. It's cold, so cold. Su Qingya wrapped herself in a moldy, tattered blanket, shivering uncontrollably, her lips turning blue. Fighting over scarce warm supplies had split the women at the farm into hostile factions. With a rusty kitchen knife, Su Qingya and Li Mingyao had seized the best sheltered corner and several blankets for themselves. The other women huddled together in groups, scrambling over scraps of cloth, fighting one another just to share body heat. Chun-Shi sat alone by the main door gripping a wooden spear, watching everything with cold eyes. She felt sorrow watching them tear each other apart over blankets. Xia Yuqing and the others should have reached Lin Mo's campsite by now. Chun-Shi thought silently. Somehow, witnessing the miserable scene around her, a flicker of envy stirred in her heart for the three girls. Still, her pride stopped her from seeking shelter by submitting herself to a man. Chun-Shi sighed. It would be more than 20 days until superpowers awakened and the next phase began. She wondered if their all-female group could survive until then. Dawn broke. Thin mist still hung over the primeval forest, and a cool morning breeze rustled the treetops. Within Lin Mo's Level 2 campsite, however, it was as warm as paradise. The sturdy stone and wooden windbreak wall blocked the bitter cold outside, and the bonfire burned steadily. Lin Mo slowly opened his eyes on the spacious wolf-pelt bed and exhaled deeply. After a full night's rest, his enhanced body brimmed with energy, power thrumming in every muscle. Ba, you're awake? A soft, deferential voice sounded beside him. Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia lay on either side of him like docile kittens. They wore the oversized men's sportswear, which still highlighted their graceful figures. They had woken long before but stayed still, afraid to disturb his rest. As soon as Lin Mo opened his eyes, Xia Yuqing gently reached out and massaged his temples. Lin Mo enjoyed the attentive care, turning his gaze toward the other side of the bed. Zhang Yao's thigh wound had formed a thick scab after treatment. She could not move vigorously yet, but her fever had broken completely, and her complexion looked healthy again. Ba, I'll prepare breakfast. Zhang Yao's face was flushed, her expression full of sincere devotion. She tried to push herself upright. Your leg's injured. Stay lying down. Let the other two handle it. Lin Mo gently pushed her back onto the wolf pelts, then patted Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia's hips. The two girls blushed and stood up, hurrying over to the fire. The leftover pheasant and mushroom soup from the previous night was reheated in the stone pot, bubbling and releasing an appetizing aroma. Lin Mo focused his mind and summoned the two giant wild boars he had killed the night before from his storage space. Boom, boom. The massive boar carcasses materialized in the corner of the campsite, an imposing sight. Process these two boars. Cut the meat up for roasting, and dispose of the internal organs far away. Lin Mo instructed casually, looking at the fearsome beasts that had nearly cost them their lives, now destined to become their food. Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia felt their admiration and awe for Lin Mo rise once more. They did not complain. Taking the daggers Lin Mo had given them, they immediately set to work. Sipping warm soup while watching two beautiful women busy working for him, a satisfied smile curved Lin Mo's lips. This was the privilege that came with unmatched strength. Still, he only had 3 people following him now, and that was far from enough. Back at the farm, apart from troublesome women like Su Qingya and Li Mingyao, there were other female classmates worth recruiting. If he could gain their loyalty too, life would be even better. At the same time, back at the wilderness farm, more than 30 girls lay sprawled in piles. They had endured a freezing night, their lips blue and heads throbbing from cold by early morning. Hunger and cold were slowly draining their last reserves of strength. Water, I need water, one girl moaned weakly, but the well water collected the previous night had formed a thin layer of ice. In this moment of despair, Chun-Shi stepped forward. She gripped her wolf, blood-stained wooden spear tightly, her gaze clear and resolute. No more lying around waiting to die. Zhao Shui, Wang Qian, come with me to fetch water from the backyard. Everyone else break apart all the useless wooden furniture in the house to burn for warmth. Chun-Shi's strength and courage standing up to Su Qingya the night before had quietly earned her great authority among the desperate girls. All right, we'll listen to you. Several light-headed girls struggled to their feet from hunger and followed Chun-Shi obediently. Even Lu Yunyan, who was always fond of moral manipulation, kept quiet for once and quietly helped gather firewood. She knew clearly that at a time when no one could get enough to eat, whoever could lead the group to survive held real authority. This scene pierced Su Qingya's heart like a poisonous thorn as she watched from the corner. Damn it, who does Chun-Shi think she is, stealing my spotlight? Wrapped in a moldy, tattered blanket, Su Qingya stared venomously at Chun-Shi's busy figure, her features twisted with jealousy. She was the eldest daughter of the Su group, the officially recognized core leader of their all-female group. Yet now everyone took orders from Chun-Shi, treating her as if she did not exist at all. No, I cannot be pushed to the sidelines like this. I have to do something to seize back control. Su Qingya gritted her teeth, consumed by ambition and vanity that clouded her judgment entirely. She threw off her ragged blanket and kicked Li Mingyao, who was pretending to be too weak to move. Get up. Come with me to look for food. Li Mengyao's legs trembled from hunger, and she pleaded with a tearful face. Qingya, it's too dangerous outside. We can't even catch hares. Where are we supposed to find food? Shut up. Just come. Su Qingya forced Li Mingyao to stand, called over 2 other loyal followers, and slipped quietly out the back door of the wooden house. They dared not venture deep into the forest and wandered aimlessly among the bushes on the outskirts of the farm. Hunger blurred their vision, making everything look edible. They had searched for nearly an hour with nothing to show for it, and were about to give up when Su Qingya's eyes suddenly lit up. Look over there. She pointed toward the base of a withered old tree, her voice trembling with excitement. Growing amid the damp shadows at the tree's roots was a large cluster of brightly colored mushrooms. They bore striking shades of red, yellow, and purple, dotted with eerie white speckles on their caps, standing out vividly in the dim woodland. Mushrooms. Fresh mushrooms. Li Mingyao and the others lunged forward desperately, starved beyond reason. Great! Look how many there are. Such vibrant colors. They must be a rare delicacy. Su Qingya was ecstatic. She had no knowledge of wilderness survival. In her mind, anything attractive in appearance must be highly valuable. She hastily picked every last one of the colorful mushrooms and carefully gathered them in her clothing. Let's head back to the wine cellar. I spotted a few bottles there yesterday. An audacious, self-assured plan suddenly formed in Su Qingya's mind. More than 10 minutes later, inside the ruined underground wine cellar, Su Qingya and her companions unearthed 3 dust covered bottles of cheap red wine, their corks coated in mold. Carrying these so-called spoils, Su Qingya marched back into the main hall with her head held high. Everyone gather around. Look what I found. She slammed the pile of colorful mushrooms and 3 bottles of cheap red wine onto an octagonal table and raised her voice deliberately, trying to draw everyone's attention back to herself. Fainting from hunger, the girls hurried over at the sound. Are those mushrooms? Their colors are so bright. Can we eat them? One girl swallowed hard, filled with hesitation. Naturally. Hi. In restaurants serve wild mushrooms with vivid colors at exorbitant prices. These are an extraordinary find. Su Qingya spouted nonsense with complete confidence before drawing a deep breath and laying out the reckless scheme she had devised. Girls, we cannot keep enduring this. There is nothing left on the farm, and we will starve to death. Climbing onto the table, Su Qingya spoke like an impassioned speaker, sweeping her gaze across the crowd. Lin Mo has a terrible temper, but he has meat, clean water, and medicine. He has survived alone in these wild mountains for 3 days. He must be lonely. He chased us away only to put on airs and make us beg him. Now we have these rare wild mushrooms and these bottles of vintage wine to use as bargaining chips. Su Qingya grew more impassioned, already imagining Lin Mo begging for her favor. We will bring these gifts to visit him and treat him politely to give him a chance to reconcile. Once he is moved, he will surely share his roasted wild pork and wolf pelts. If we appeal to his pride as a man, Lin Mo will become a steady source of supplies for our all-female group. Under ordinary circumstances, such absurd logic would be dismissed as nonsense. But these girls had gone 2 full days and nights without a proper meal, their rationality eroded by starvation. Her words struck them like a powerful stimulant. Can this really work? Someone wavered. Lin Mo has meat. I crave meat so badly. Qingya makes sense. We are all classmates. How could a man stand by and watch us starve? We might as well try talking to him. Most of the girls were overcome by hunger and convinced by Su Qingya's claims. Even Lu Yunyan was lightheaded from lack of food. She swallowed and agreed half-heartedly. There is some truth to what Qingya says. We are all classmates. Lin Mo would not let us perish. Trying to negotiate is worth a shot. With their teacher backing the idea, all remaining doubt vanished. Let's go. We will trade with Lin Mo for meat. The all-female group will not give up. Fueled by blind confidence and crippling hunger, Su Qingya and Lu Yunyan led more than 30 gaunt, weak-legged girls out of the farm gate once more, heading toward Lin Mo's campsite. Chen Shi watched the ridiculous scene unfolding and could not help but shake her head. They were university students after all. How could they be so naive and short-sighted? After a frigid night trapped on the farm, the girls were on the verge of collapse. The 800-meter journey felt endless for the freezing, starved group stumbling through the forest. Cold wind howled as they supported one another, trudging unevenly across the rough terrain. Hunger temporarily pushed all fear of Lin Mo aside. Each of them dreamed that offering the rare wild mushrooms would win them his roasted meat. Eventually, Lin Mo's sturdy stone and timber windbreak came into view. Before they drew near, a rich aroma of roasted meat seasoned with cumin and fat drifted toward them on the wind. Gurgling sounds echoed as every single girl swallowed heavily, the scent tormenting their empty stomachs. Meat. Roasted meat. It smells amazing. Li Mingyao's eyes widened with hunger. If Su Qingya had not held her back, she would have rushed forward immediately. Su Qingya suppressed her excitement, regained her haughty demeanor, and led the group around the side of the windbreak. Yet the moment they saw inside the camp, every face froze. Shock crashed over them. Beside a large bonfire sat 2 massive cuts of wild pork roasting, golden fat dripping sizzling onto the embers. What stunned them most were 3 women seated beside the flames. Xia Yuqing, Lu Jia, and even Zhang Yao, whom they had assumed would not live through the previous night, sat comfortably on soft wolf fur mats. Far from dying, their complexions looked healthy and clean. Though they wore oversized men's clothing, they radiated relaxed contentment after a full meal. Holding a dagger, Xia Yuqing neatly sliced off a piece of crispy roasted wild pork and carefully fed it to Zhang Yao. Slow down, it's hot. Lin Mo said this wild pork is nourishing. Eat more. Xia Yuqing smiled warmly, clearly at peace. It tastes incredible. I have never eaten anything so good, Zhang Yao said with her mouth full, thoroughly satisfied. The sight crashed down on Su Qingya, Lu Yunyan, and the others like a heavy blow. An overwhelming sense of unfairness squeezed their hearts. Just the night before, they had stripped Xia Yuqing and her friends of warm clothes and driven them from the farm like outcasts. Su Qingya had even predicted wild beasts would tear them apart. Now, those who stayed on the farm endured cold and hunger, barely clinging to survival. Meanwhile, the expelled trio enjoyed an enviable life at Lin Mo's camp, eating roasted wild pork they could only dream of. Why them? This isn't fair. Su Qingya's eyes turned red. Consumed by raging jealousy, she lost all sense. She stared fixedly at the glistening meat in Xia Yuqing's hand, grinding her teeth hard. The girls following her wavered completely. Xia Yuqing and the others survived, and they're living so well. If only I had left with them last night. Lin Mo really has meat and can protect people. I don't want to starve on the farm anymore. I want to go to Lin Mo's side too. Whispers spread through the crowd. Most girls watched Xia Yuqing and her companions with undisguised longing. Quiet, all of you. Su Qingya snapped angrily, sensing her group's unity fraying. She would not allow her position to be threatened, nor tolerate Xia Yuqing showing off in front of her. Taking a deep breath, she forced a cold smile, cradled the mushrooms and moldy wine, and strode into the open campground. Lin Mo. Su Qingya's voice broke the camp's quiet. Lin Mo, resting with his eyes closed atop a wolf fur bed, slowly opened them. He looked at the crowd invading his territory and raised an eyebrow. He had been thinking about how to test the dynamics within this all-female group and gradually win over several of his classmates. He had not expected this impulsive woman to bring herself to his door so soon. Lin Mo, do not pretend. Su Qingya tilted her chin upward, acting as if she understood everything, and held out the mushrooms and wine. I know you must feel lonely staying out here alone, and you only chased us away to save face. Today, as the core leader of our all-female group, I have personally led everyone to visit you. These are rare wild mushrooms we risked our lives gathering deep in the forest, along with vintage wine. If you hand over the roasted wild pork, clean water, and medical supplies to be shared among all of us, I will generously allow you to rejoin our group as our security leader. So won't you thank me? At those words, Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia paused and stared at Su Qingya as if watching a fool. Had she lost her mind? Lin Mo nearly laughed out loud. Ignoring Su Qingya's ranting, he fixed his gaze on the colorful mushrooms she held. He activated his universal analysis ability. Ding. Analysis activated. Target: fly agaric, panther cap, highly toxic hallucinogenic fungi. Evaluation: unfit for any consumption. Within 30 minutes of ingestion, victims suffer severe hallucinations, vomiting, and convulsions. Lethal doses cause central nervous system failure and immediate death. Reading the stark warning floating in his vision, Lin Mo could no longer hold back. Ha ha ha. Lin Mo threw back his head and laughed mockingly. The sound echoed across the camp, stinging the girl's ears. What are you laughing at? Su Qingya stiffened, struggling to maintain composure. I laugh because you are nothing more than a greedy opportunist and a complete fool. Lin Mo's laughter faded abruptly. His gaze turned cold, as if he was looking at corpses. He pointed at the mushrooms in her hands. Rare premium wild mushrooms. Open your eyes. These are fly agaric and panther caps, deadly toxic fungi that trigger convulsions and kill anyone who eats them. And those mold-covered bottles of wine you carry are spoiled and rotten. You bring worthless, deadly poison to trade for dozens of kilos of prime roasted wild pork and medical supplies. And you dare claim you will take charge of me? Lin Mo's words landed like slaps across Su Qingya's face. Su Qingya, how can your judgment be this muddled? Chaos erupted among the crowd. Toxic mushrooms? The girls behind her stepped back in alarm, staring at Su Qingya in terror. If Lin Mo had not exposed the truth, they would have cooked and eaten them, and likely perished to the last person. Su Qingya's face flushed dark red. She could not believe her precious bargaining chips were lethal poison. You are lying. These are fine mushrooms. You are just making excuses to keep the meat. Su Qingya shrieked, desperately clinging to denial. Su Qingya, have you no shame? Xia Yuqing could endure it no longer. She stood sharply and shouted at Su Qingya. You are nothing but a leech who preys on others. Yesterday you stole our food and took our warm clothes, and now you bring toxic mushrooms to trick Lin Mo. Anyone who follows you will end up killed by your recklessness. Zhang Yao struggled upright and shouted angrily. Humiliated by those she had once looked down on, Su Qingya and Li Mingyao lost control. Xia Yuqing, how dare you act superior? You only get special treatment by currying favor with Lin Mo. Su Qingya screamed insults wildly. Watching them snarl like enraged animals, Lin Mo's expression turned icy. He stood slowly and wrapped his hand around his sharp steel machete. The blade glinted, heavy with killing intent. At that moment, A cold mechanical voice echoed inside his head. Ding. Group conflict detected. Hidden quest. The hunter's game activated. Quest briefing. Direct killing lacks entertainment. Use your overwhelming resources and psychological advantage to break apart the power structure of the all-female group, spark internal strife, and force the group members to seek reconciliation with you voluntarily. Quest reward. Survival points plus 200, loyalty contract times 5. Lin Mo's grip on the machete loosened slightly. A playful glint appeared in his eyes. 5 loyalty contracts. That was an excellent reward. He planned to build a large wilderness shelter one day and needed trustworthy allies. Reliable contracts would eliminate the risk of betrayal that simple intimidation could not prevent. Besides, the system was right. Killing Su Qingyan now would satisfy his anger, but the brutal scene would terrify the other girls. Even Xia Yuqing, Zhang Yao and the others who had sided with him might come to see him as excessively violent. Rule through fear alone was messy and robbed him of the satisfaction of outwitting people. Taking a life ended everything. Breaking a person's spirit was far more devastating. He would destroy the all-female group from within through crueler psychological means. He would let Su Qingyao watch everyone abandon her and taste the despair of total isolation. Lin Mo suppressed his killing urge and released the machete handle. A chilling smirk tugged at his lips. Su Qingyao, watch your words. Faced with the vicious insults, Xia Yuqing did not shrink back as she once had. She stepped forward firmly. Like a fierce guardian, she pointed directly at Su Qingyao and retorted, "Am I inferior? Am I unworthy?" Xia Yuqing laughed bitterly. Her face, bright and healthy after proper meals and a warm wash, twisted with open scorn and confidence. "Yes, I chose to stand alongside Lin Mo. So what? Last night, you and your so-called leaders huddled in a drafty, shivering cabin, fighting over moldy blankets. Meanwhile, Lu Jia and I rested on warm wolf fur bedding, eating savory roasted wild pork and drinking hot mushroom chicken soup. We support Lin Mo and treat him with sincerity. Thanks to that, we survived and live far better than you arrogant, useless people." Zhang Yao's injured leg was also saved from amputation. Every word boomed across the empty camp, hammering into every girl's heart. Lu Jia stepped forward too. She was naturally timid, yet under Lin Mo's protection, she found courage. "That is the truth. We choose to trust and follow Lin Mo. Unlike you ungrateful leeches, Lin Mo is a dependable man. Now take your toxic mushrooms and leave this camp. You are not welcome here." Silence fell. A dead silence. More than 30 gaunt, starved girls stood frozen, stunned. What had they just heard? Xia Yuqing, once the gentle, reserved class academic representative, had openly admitted she chose to align herself with Lin Mo, even calling him boss repeatedly. Such bold, extreme, almost fanatical and boastful remarks completely shattered their rigid worldview. You people." Su Qingyao trembled with rage. Her finger pointing at Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia shook violently, and she stammered for a long time without managing to utter a complete sentence. Li Mingyao was equally stunned, unable to comprehend why Xia Yuqing and the others felt no humiliation at all, instead acting as if they had stumbled upon something precious. "Lin Mo, you are utterly ruthless." Seeing Su Qingyao left speechless, Lu Yunyan stepped forward again to uphold her dignity as the group's teacher, launching her familiar moral condemnation. "We are all classmates. Even if you choose not to help and remain cold-blooded, you took advantage of their desperate situation. You forced Yuqing and Lu Jia into such undignified circumstances. Do you have any sense of morality left? A sense of morality? You speak of morality to me out here in the wilderness." Lin Mo stared coldly at Lu Yunyan's frantic outbursts, his gaze filled with disdain. Ignoring her ranting, he turned towards Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia, whose chests heaved from agitation, his expression softening slightly. "Enough wasting breath on these people who won't survive much longer. Don't let them get you upset." Lin Mo spoke in a lazy tone. Right in front of more than 30 pairs of eyes belonging to the all-female group, he openly stretched out his arms and pulled Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia into a broad embrace. "Ah!" Xia Yuqing and Lu Jia let out a soft gasp. Their faces, already flushed from anger, took on a gentle pink hue. They leaned obediently against Lin Mo's chest like tame kittens. The scene landed like a sharp slap across the faces of Su Qingyao, Lu Yunyan, and the others. It was provocation, blatant and deliberate provocation. Lin Mo's actions made it clear to them all. Within this camp, he held absolute power. The young women they had once looked down upon now stood under his protection. You treacherous lot." Jealousy gnawed at Su Qingyao. The pride she took in being a campus beauty was trampled relentlessly beneath Lin Mo's feet. Just as Su Qingya was about to fly into another furious tirade, a devilish smirk tugged at Lin Mo's lips. He recalled the new system quest, the Hunter's Game. Simply driving them away would be far too merciful for these ungrateful people. He intended to play a far more ruthless game. Lin Mo released the two girls beside him and casually settled back onto the luxurious wolfskin mat, watching the others like a cat toying with mice. He picked up a gleaming steel dagger and sliced a large 2-pound chunk of sizzling, golden roasted wild boar meat from the massive joint cooking over the fire. Gurgle, when Lin Mo lifted the meat on the tip of his blade. 30 young women all swallowed in unison. Crushing hunger turned their eyes a hungry, sharp green. They could not tear their gaze away from the roasted meat. Lin Mo held little regard for these women ruled by vanity and foolishness, yet he understood just how fragile human nature became in the grip of starvation. You want this meat? Lin twirled the dagger in his hand and waved the glistening roasted meat before everyone's eyes, his voice laced with temptation. I can give this meat to you for free. At those words, every girl in the group held her breath. Free meat? Even Su Qingya and Lu Yunyan froze. Could it be that Lin Mo had a change of heart after their accusations and planned to compromise? Lin Mo's next words, however, crashed over them like frigid, icy water, extinguishing every trace of hope. It detonated a force capable of breaking all human decency within the crowd. But there is one condition. Lin Mo's cold smile deepened. His icy gaze slowly swept over the shocked, contorted faces of Su Qingya and Li Mengyao. My condition is simple. Any woman here who steps forward and slaps either Su Qingya or Li Mengyao will receive a piece of meat for that single blow. The more strikes you land, the more meat you earn. There is no upper limit. Boom. Silence crashed over the edge of the camp after Lin Mo spoke. The air seemed to freeze entirely. It was cruelty designed to break people from within, a trap laid out in plain sight. Lin Mo, you're insane. You're deranged. The silence broke first with Su Qingya. She flinched as if a cat whose tail had been stepped on and shrieked loudly. You try to sow division with such despicable tactics. Do you honestly believe anyone would dare strike me, the leader of our group, for a scrap of meat? You are dreaming. Su Qingya shouted angrily, pulling Li Mengyao and several loyal followers close as they glared nervously at the starving girls behind them. Everyone, do not fall for his trick. He is insulting the dignity of our all-female group. Li Mengyao shouted shakily from behind Su Qingya. Still, their threats and moral appeals might have worked under ordinary circumstances. Not now. Not when the rich aroma of roasted meat hung thick in the air and 2 full days and nights had passed without a proper meal. Dignity? Group solidarity? What good were such things? Could they fill empty stomachs? Gurgle, gurgle. Someone in the crowd swallowed hard. One hesitant gaze after another glinted with ravenous greed. The 30 pairs of eyes fixed on Su Qingya and Li Mengyao looked not at fellow humans, but at cuts of fragrant roasted meat. The fragile trust holding the all-female group together crumbled like ancient sand exposed to wind, undone by the lure of meat. Even Lu Yunyan, who had stood at the front preaching virtue, stared ahead with restless, conflicted eyes. Maintain unity? Starving as she was, only one thought dominated her mind. She needed meat. If one slap could win her food, as their teacher, would it be acceptable to let Su Qingya endure a little hardship for everyone's survival?